that's the standard right there. That's the standard. Like part of the game of basketball is missing and making shots, but like our competitive nature, our competitive spirit, for a game, no matter if we're making shots or not, like that's what we do, and we force the game to be in our hands. And I think that second half, we found something in ourselves. So me being this my 10th, 11th game here, like that's the level that we got to get to Boston, and once we get there, because I know we're good enough, we will get there. Then we'll be a much better team. Like if we're making shots, we're gonna blow teams out. So and tonight we didn't make shots, and we still gave ourselves a chance. So it's that simple.
Alford, Eli Moon, and that was James Harden. I think he was talking about not making shots. That was a very, very weak microphone, I think, in the press room. But he is, of course, recapping the Cavs' 109-98 loss to the Celtics of Boston, a game that was seen by many as an opportunity, well, but many, including me, as a opportunity for the Cavaliers to assert themselves in the Eastern Conference, to make themselves an actual player in this title talk as we wind down this NBA season. And obviously, they did none of those things. But yeah, we'll get everybody's reaction to what Harden had to say about this loss, about the Cavs in general, in just a couple of seconds. First off, how are we all doing today, gentlemen?
I'm doing great. I've had a great weekend. I have absolutely had a blast just being in this warm weather. And Double A, you must have seen something funny before we got on air or something. How are you? How are you doing?
No, don't lie to our audience. No, you should have said there's some things going on there. It was a good function, of course, and the beautiful thing of podcast land is when you have family functions and stuff. It's all you got to maneuver some things, and you would have had a loud household in the background. Would have been several co-hosts on this show.
Yeah, you would have got the whole Moon family on main event tonight. So, but no, still seriously, great weather, can't complain. Hair's looking good, man. I'm doing good, vibing out. How are you doing, Rob? Ooh, maybe we're not doing good. Maybe we're not doing good.
What's happening over there?
Maybe we're not doing good. Okay, all right, hold on.
You're a little hot over there, buddy. Yeah. Eli, you got to mic down a little bit.
No, we're fine over here. Nothing's falling and crashing on the ground. We don't have 38 people running around. The most action we have in these parts right now is Nikki realized earlier today that we have 13 days until we leave for the happiest place on earth, Orlando, Florida.
Wow.
I'm so excited for you guys. Both of I think we're just going to take a bye week in a couple weeks. Because while you guys are gone, I'm going to rest. I think that's the first weekend of March Madness.
Well,
we'll see.
It's weird because, I don't do the Disney thing much. This is the first time I've gone in about 25 years, actually. So, I'm approaching this like a normal vacation.
What is that noise?
That's not me. I'm inventor. That doesn't happen here.
Don't worry, guys. Everything's cool.
Okay. Go ahead.
But no, I don't do the Disney thing often, and so I'm approaching this like most vacations or whatever. 13 days out. This is kind of when I, go through the closet, figure out what I'm going to pack. That kind, and it's a process, and then I'll be ready to go when the time arises. However, Nikki said she was going to go pack her suitcase, and I want to say 5:00. And then 5:07 rolls around, and she comes in and just says, "Hey, we're done." She knew exactly what she was doing, and yes, there is definitely a seasoned element here to what is happening. If you do not have anybody in your life, anybody listening who is a Disney aficionado, I'm learning a lot pretty much every day when it comes down to this kind of stuff.
I can't wait to see what Mickey ears you get when you go to Disney.
I mean, you're going to get pictures of me at least in a Mickey Mouse T-shirt. It has already been pre-selected and placed in an area that is very conspicuous next to my closet, so I will not forget it. And if I do, I will probably come back single.
Yeah.
Now, is this Nikki's first trip to Disney, or has she taken multiple trips to Disney World in the past?
We figured that she was trying to figure out where. somewhere between like 25 and 30.
Trips?
Yes.
Okay. That's a lot of trips.
Yes.
It's a lot of trips. I thought I went. I think we've won 4 times to
Yes.
Disney/Universal. 4 or 5. 25, 30.
I went once. I'm still paying for the effing trip
I understand.
3 years later.
Yeah.
But you look like you had a lot of fun, Double A. You look at the dude.
The debt for the trip lasted longer than the relationship. Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie. It was a fun trip, though. I am not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
It all those parts, Epcot, the Ratatouille, fantastic. Enjoy Ratatouille. Fantastic. You gotta get the early entry.
And again, I understand that for most of this run, I'm going to be basically a prop. Hey, take this picture, take that picture, go over here, go over there. I'm pretty much treating this, it's going to be a much more pleasurable experience, mind you. But I'm going to be treating this much like a soldier in an army where I'm going to get my marching orders and I'm going to obey them.
That's right.
You know what? But there is the cool thing, and I know we got to get a lot of serious things to get to. But the cool thing is they have Star Wars at Disney.
About that game earlier.
You have Star Wars. You have that. I mean, they have I'm not a Star Wars guy, but they have the Stormtroopers, I believe. They're walking around.
Going to that part, I don't think we're hitting the Universal Studios or the MGM, whatever it is now. We have 3 days down there. We're hitting Wild Kingdom or Animal Kingdom. We're hitting Magic Kingdom, and we're hitting Epcot.
Okay.
And I could pan this thing around and show you all the Star Trek memorabilia I have in this room. I don't have a lot of Star Wars though, so wasn't the highest priority for me. But yeah, there's an Avatar ride that they're talking a lot about. There's Ratatouille that, from what I understand, I'm going to have to get up at about 4:00 in the morning to go to.
Yes.
But other than that, I'm just going to let the next that week kind of just zip by.
I'm going to give you sound advice. Have fun, smile, be prepared, and all marching orders you don't question. This is not a debate. This ain't TAM. Yes, ma'am.
No, she made reservations for dinner about 2 months ago. So yeah, I've already understood that. But
and drink a lot of water.
We're gonna have a good time for sure. It'll be nice to kind of get out of Ohio for a week. We're gonna drive down, have see the Eastern Seaboard and have a good old time with that.
And Eli, you'll be in Texas, correct? San Antonio.
Yeah, I'll be in Texas March 20th, Thriller in Texas Festival. I have Ohio artists coming with me, performing with Texas artists. Gonna be very, very cool. Very excited, and it's probably around the same time it'll be 30 degrees, I think, here in Cleveland. So we get our last cold front, and I'll be 80 degrees over there. So I'm very, very excited to see everybody and rock out.
That's all right. I got my March Madness set up. I'll be here watching March Madness. Maybe, who knows? Miami of Ohio will still be in it. Maybe Ohio State, who has moved their way closer to clinching an at-large bid, will get in. Maybe Bowling Green will shock the world. Okay, I kid on that last part, but we'll see. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, March, and I'm sure we will hit Miami of Ohio and that conundrum, and basically, I guess the Miami athletic director declaring war on the entire Pearl family. The way it's going down here, that seems to be the story anyway. Is kind of the professional pushback on all this kind of stuff. So. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that one. But we have to start. We led the damn show off with James Harden. The Cavaliers, I don't know if there's an easier way to put it. They shit the bed against the Boston Celtics. As I said, 109-98. Ended up being an 11-point loss. They were down more than 20 at points in time, even though it was a double-digit loss. It was not nearly as close as that 11-point number. Donovan Mitchell did play, 30 points. He had led the team actually in scoring. James Harden, 19 points on 6 of 16 shooting. Evan Mobley, 24 points. But other than that, no Cavalier really flirted with double digits. I think the closest one was Jalen Tyson with 8. Just a putrid effort for offensive and defensive effort from the Cavaliers this time around. And as I said, to lead the show, we were really hoping that this whole game was going to be a statement game for the Cavaliers, and I think it was, just not in the way that we were looking for.
Yeah, it was very disappointing, and to watch the way the Cavs played really offensively was poor. Just from 3-point land, eventually when you realize that you can't hit the 3-point shot, maybe, I don't know, drive in, and I know they're missing Jared Allen, I get it, but you have Evan Mobley, you have Thomas Bryant, who you've got more involved since the All-Star break. I mean, why aren't you using some of these guys in getting more involved in the paint? I just think at some point you got to abandon the plan of shooting the 3-ball. And a lot of the shots, when you go back and watch them again, just weren't good shots. They were just throwing up shots to hopefully stop a Boston run. But Boston in that second quarter wasn't even really hitting too many shots. The Cavs were playing decent enough defense and getting some turnovers. They just couldn't convert. And that first half really slowed them down. I mean, it was a valiant fourth quarter run, like you said, Rob, to make it a little bit closer than what the game felt like all game long. But I don't know. It was very it was discouraging, very discouraging, and it kind of scared me as a Cavs fan, because it's like, is this what we're gonna run into? Like, Boston's played very well all year, and now they get Jason Tatum back. He only played 27 minutes and had a very good game. I mean, very efficient, for Boston there today with 20 points. I don't know. I'm not feeling good about this rendition AA of Harden right now and Mitchell. It just doesn't seem like, where did it get better? I mean, today at least against the big dogs, Boston, and Jason Tatum still getting his legs under him. You couldn't hit any threes, and you lose by 11. I don't know. I'm discouraged, but maybe I just thought this was a measuring stick game. I felt like for the Cavaliers.
They lost by 11, but it felt like they got blown out by 30.
Yeah.
It was, you talked about like how the Cavs, let me go through the numbers. I sent it to you guys while I listened to the first half on the radio, and it sounded atrocious on the radio.
I mean, they were down by 30 at half, weren't they?
They were, I think it was
36. What was it, 56-26, right?
Yeah.
No, 20 points at half. 20 points at half.
2 for 22 from downtown in the first half. 0 for 15 from downtown in the second quarter. A second quarter where they only scored 10 points. If I told you, if you didn't know, that the Cavaliers had 5 effing days to prepare for this game, what were they doing? What were they doing leading into this game, knowing that this was in front of a national audience? I'll give you the OKC game where, like, okay, you were playing on Friday night and then you were flying into OKC and a quick turnaround. You have 5 days. Your last game was at home. This game was at home. Mm-hmm. You have 5 effing days. And you come out offensively, if you're not hitting from downtown, Eli hit on it as far as like lack of offensive adjustments until it was too late. Where I get really upset about this Cavs team, and every team that does this destroys them. The defensive effort is piss poor. End of story. All you got to do, if they are doubling the driver inside, whether in this case it was Jaylen Brown, it could be another game, it could be Chet Holmgren in another game. Every time they dish it out to the outside, the perimeter shooter is wide effing open, and they hit it every time, and you're out of the race. If you look back at every single moment where the Cavaliers have gotten demolished in the playoffs or in big regular season games over the last 3 or 4 years, the same formula that happened today played out in all of those playoff losses to Indiana, to Boston, to New York. That's how they lost to all of those teams. That playbook you saw today is how they have shown that when it comes time to be ready for the big time against the elite, they ain't there because defensively they don't have what it takes as far as effort to get to that next level. And then they have bad habits offensively shooting the ball. Kenny Atkinson talked about it in his postgame today. They kind of went back to the habits of, nothing's working. Let's just shoot from the outside. and find our way back into the basketball game. The worst game of the season from the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I mean, they got out rebounded, they got out physical, they got out efforted, and I think that's, you alluded to it before. You had 5 days to prepare. Everybody was kind of saying, all right, we got time to get healthy, we got time to figure our shit out. But yeah, the defense just wasn't there, and yeah, it's the same thing that happens with this team all the time. The defensive effort kind of goes away. The offense feeds on the defense. So if there is no defensive effort, there's nothing for the offense to feed on. And yeah, you were missing Jared Allen today, and I'm sure that would have made a difference, especially down low, especially in the rebounding battle. But as important as Jared Allen is and as great as he's playing, this team should not look that discombobulated when their fourth best scorer is out of the lineup. And I know it's their best defender or second best defender, whatever, but Evan Mobley is not Donovan Mitchell, is not James Harden, Jared Allen is not those guys. So that should not be a big enough reason for them to look this flat. If this was a 1-point loss and they were in it the whole way, I could see Jared Allen being a reasonable excuse. But yeah, the defense wasn't there. The dumb threes were. The Cavalanches are great, and I cut these highlights, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays at TAM. The Cavalanches are great, and the threes are great whenever you hear Tim Alcorn say, Mitchell passes to Harden, back to Mitchell, over to Merrill, down low to Mobley, put up the, when you have ball movement. And right now, Eli, you said it, these guys are just hoisting up threes to hoist up threes and hoping they were going to fall, and their numbers show it. I mean, under 30% from three, I think it was just around 40% from the field the whole day. So, I mean, when they're shooting like that, yeah, you can win some games if you're shooting that bad against the Jazz or against, any of these, Indiana Pacers right now or Milwaukee coming up. You're not going to do that against the Celtics. You got to play smarter than that. You got to play harder than that. And it is very, very disappointing to see the Cavaliers in a game like this just show up completely. It looked like unprepared. It looked like they were just caught by surprise that they were playing today. And hopefully they did learn something in this whole experience, that maybe just having James Harden wasn't going to do it all for you. You might have to actually put the effort along with it. At best, this is a wake-up call. At worst, this is an embarrassment. And the Cavaliers got a bunch of tomato cans coming up. So hopefully they'll be able to get a few wins here and kind of establish themselves as at least the 3 or 4 seed without a doubt now. But, yeah, the Cavaliers are not in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just imperative, though, that we stress how much Jared Allen means, though, to the success of James Harden here in Cleveland. I got a chance to join the Sunday Sports Show with Chad Bryan, TK Dandridge, and Ryan Mosser, and I talked about,
What day is that on?
Oh, on Sunday. It was earlier. It was earlier today. But I got a chance to join that show and talked about kind of doing like a Cavs preview earlier, and I got a chance to everything is just flying around me, man. I'm having a day, fellas. But
let's do it. You're doing fine.
Okay, here we go. I'm having a day, pal. But what I brought up was Cavs James Harden early on in his Cavs tenure was passing the ball and getting the most assists over to Jared Allen. Jared Allen being out and James Harden having a little bit of a quieter stretch, I don't think is a coincidence. I think he needs Jared Allen to be a cog in the success of his efficiency here in Cleveland. It just wasn't. It hasn't been pretty the last few games for James Harden, and I think that has something to do with Jared Allen being out. Rob, I know you said he's the 4th best scorer, but at the same point in time, after the All-Star break, Jared Allen's been leading the charge offensively and has had, I feel like, the most complete game out of all the Cavaliers since the All-Star break. So I feel like he's more important than the 4th best guy in this team. I think without Jared Allen, you see James Harden isn't as efficient. He thrives in that pick and roll game. And Evan Mobley, though he did have 24 points, I get it, it just isn't the same as having Jared Allen out there running to the paint. I just think it's a different type of feel.
I think what let Harden down today wasn't not having Allen. It was the bench not showing up. I mean, we're talking 13 points out of the bench. Thomas Bryant 3, Schroeder with 2, Tyson with 8, and that 8 points came at 3 for 8 from the field. I mean, the least efficient 8 points you can kind of get. What we've seen with Harden is that it is the Sam Merrills of the world or the Jalen Tysons of the world that have been benefiting off this and have at least we've had one of them stepping up, but we had the 3 main guys today and literally nobody else. What doing quick math here, we got 54 points out of Mobley and Mitchell. Add another 20, that's 74, 73 points. 73 out of the Cavaliers, 98 points came out of 3 guys. And yeah. I mean, I understand, you want Jared Allen there, and that would make things easier. But somebody else should be able to at least crack double digits in this fiasco.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Rob, is they struggled mightily from 3-point land, and Jared Allen is like one of the only guys that establishes the paint for the Cavaliers. Like, Thomas Bryant can only do so much, and I respect his game, but he can only do so much. Jared Allen, though, we've talked about when he gets the hot start in the first quarter, usually they're dishing the ball off early. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, they're dishing the ball off early to get him involved. So that means typically a Cavs quick start. They haven't been able to have that. So I just feel like the injury, missing Jared Allen is a bigger deal. And I'm just saying that because earlier on in the Sunday Sports Show, I said, hey, we're gonna, we got to do something eventually. Championship teams do battle through this, but the good news is Jared Allen, it isn't a season-ending injury. He will be back for the playoffs, and I am curious to see what it would look like in a 7-game series against Boston, because I think the Cavaliers just have to attack this a different way. Boston's so good on perimeter defense; they know how to trap. You're not going to bait them into fouls. You have to be physical and attack the paint. And that's what the Cavaliers have to do, and they're missing the number one guy who does that for them.
And let me add to that, too, because I think you're spot on with Jared Allen. And since the All-Star break, Jared Allen has been one of the top players in the league statistically and on the floor for the Cavs. We have this about James Harden. James Harden has excelled in terms of, dishing the ball out to others and creating plays. He's been really good at that. And Jared Allen's a big part of that. Eli's 100% right with that. But to add, now that Jared Allen's out, in these big games against Boston, against New York, James Harden's going to have to do more driving. He's going to have to be more aggressive in terms of scoring on his own. He has to be more of that, because if you are going into the game and the bench thing, I get that, but a lot of that was because our defense again was awful. But I need more aggressiveness out of James Harden, driving into the paint, finish and score, take those baskets in the paint, become that threat inside if you're James Harden.
I also wonder too how much that finger injury is bugging him. He had I can't remember the actual numbers. He had a dismal day for his standards, 4 for 7 from the free throw line, and we're talking about a 90% shooter here. I think there might be something still off with that stroke. There might be something still off with that release point with him, and I don't know if that's going to get any better as he plays with the broken finger the entire season. But yeah, I wonder how much that's coming into play, and that wasn't really the plan too with Harden. It was kind of, let Mitchell run the show. Harden will be a great complementary piece, and he'll get buckets when you need them. And this was one of these days that you needed the buckets, and the buckets really weren't there. And again, I don't know how much he really could have done, but 19 points, I guess. Yeah, 6 of 16 from the field. Not exactly an efficient day, but yeah, it's just gonna, But to bring it back though too, that defense has to be there, because you're going to have these shooting days. You're going to have these bad offensive days. That defense has to be there. And yeah, Jared Allen would have really helped that out. But him being there or not being there does not impact the energy level from the guards, from everybody else on the court who just seemed like they were walking in quicksand.
What really bugs me, because this is a consistent pattern over the last several seasons now. What bugs me is when another team dishes out to the perimeter for 3. Lack of effort, at least getting out there from a defensive standpoint and guarding the 3-pointer. Or if you do occasionally see the effort, It's bad fundamentals. They leave their feet. They fly into the stands while the opposing player steps back or steps to the side, then makes the three. So, and teams have film on this, gentlemen. Teams have film on this. You can close your eyes and see the exact same game play out defensively against Indiana last year. The same thing against New York in a couple seasons before that. The same thing against Boston. You can close your eyes and see that performance today defensively, with or without Jared Allen on the floor, that play out in critical playoff series, which has knocked out Cleveland in sweeps and in 5-game series.
Well, I guess, the final question on the Cavs, and we can move into the rest of the NBA. Detroit did lose today, too, by the way. So Boston is going to bed tonight, 2.5 games out of the number 1 overall seed. They are surging right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10. And 8 of those games, they didn't have Jason Tatum. Is this Boston's division right now to lose? And can the Cavaliers even be a factor in this? Because, listening to a little bit of the national analysis after the game, people were just basically saying, all right, Cavaliers, yep, they're exactly what they have been the last couple of years. And AA, I think you were saying that too. Is Boston versus the East, and can the Cavaliers do anything to kind of mess around with that fate?
The Cavaliers just have to want it. I mean, ultimately, today was just a lack of effort. I mean, today was just, they have the talent. I mean, James Harden's been to a finals before. He's been, MVP candidate multiple times. I mean, the guy is constantly talked about as being one of the best players in the league. We have Donovan Mitchell, who AA, we've had conversations about being the face of the league at some points. If in the eyes of some, he could be the face of the league. If you turned on an NBA game and you saw every commercial, Donovan Mitchell, one of those guys. So they have this. They have Defensive Player of the Year and Evan Mobley. They have Jared Allen. We've talked about these guys. They have a rising star with Jalen Tyson. But they have to want it at the end of the day. They didn't want it today against Boston. And the thing is, this is a Boston team that still isn't even at full strength. Yes, Jason Tatum's back, but he had 27 minutes today. He's not even playing a full game's worth. Imagine when he gets an extra 15, 16 minutes of action there. And, this game could have been a 20-point blowout still at the end of the day if Jason Tatum gets a full run of minutes. So, to answer your question, Rob, yes, I think this is Boston's conference to win. I think it is very clear that they have gotten instantly better with Jason Tatum getting back on the floor with them.
You have him against Detroit?
Yes, I have him against Detroit because I think the Cavs could beat Detroit I have him against the Knicks as well. But I think the Cavs can hang against the Pistons and the Knicks. That's why I answer your question with it is Boston versus everybody else. Everybody's playing catch up right now, and they better hope that there's just some sort of slowdown with Jason Tatum in terms of maybe it takes him a little bit longer to get into the complete flow of things. But so far, so good for him, and that's a good thing for Boston. Bad for the Cavs.
It's Boston.
Yeah.
Boston will have the 1 seed by the end of March. Detroit will put up a fight, but Boston will have the 1 seed by the end of March. And what you're hoping for, if you're a Cavs fan, is you're not lined up with Boston or maybe even New York. I hate to say this, your path's a little limited. You're kind of hoping you could be in line with Detroit.
Well, the one thing I'm that's a little curious for me with the standings right now, and I'm not saying they're NBA title good, but I don't know if you've been watching anything going on in North Carolina right now, but Charlotte has to be one of the hottest teams in the league.
They are, yes.
They're now the 10th seed in the play-in tournament. There is, and they seem to be one of the few play-in tournament teams that are peaking, that are trending upwards as opposed to down. If I'm Cade Cunningham and the Pistons, I don't think Boston applies to this. I think their talent and their championship pedigree makes them immune from such things. But I don't know if it's a guarantee if Charlotte and Detroit play in the first round that we're going to be worried about what's going on with Detroit after that.
Well, let's see real quick. Charlotte,
32 and 32.
Yeah, and they're 3.5 back of Miami, the 6th seed. So to your
And they're
point,
going to be they'll at least be in the play-in tournament. There's a 4-game gap between them and 11. So
Charlotte's going to be fantastic. They're the one team. I think they blew out San Antonio in this stretch. They've blown out a few other top contenders.
Yeah.
In the stretch. I mean, thank goodness we beat them. We did, but even in that game, we had struggles shooting the basketball. So, like, there were struggles there. I mean, isn't it clear and obvious at this moment? It's Boston, OKC, and San Antonio.
Denver.
Like, those are the 3 best teams, and there's a significant gap between those 3 teams and your next level of contenders.
I put Denver in there too. I put Denver with Jokic in there too.
That's fine. But at least, and here's the only silver lining if you're a Cavs fan. 3 of those 4 teams are in the Western Conference. So if you can
3. At least one of those teams won't even make the Western Conference Finals.
Exactly. So, I mean, we've seen the Cavs against Detroit. We've seen the Cavs against the Knicks. So they have had other measuring stick games where they have looked impressive. It's just Boston. It's just for reasons we laid out, they cannot get over that hump until they're way more intentional in terms of effort, like you guys have talked about. They're not going to win any national conversations. We know what the A block of first take is going to be tomorrow morning. We know
Cowboys.
this. It'll be the Cowboys in free agency, and then the Celtics put the belts to asses on the Cavs. Same old Cleveland.
Yeah, and
no argument against that.
And I think it's like disheartening too, because it's so frustrating. You mentioned OKC, a young core that got a championship together. You talk about San Antonio; they have a young core and they're on their way to potentially winning a championship this year. I mean, they're pretty damn good. And then you look at Boston. Okay, they're in their prime now, but they're still, young enough to win a few more championships. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and that Boston core wins a championship. You look at the Cavs, and not only did they get rid of one of their main core 4 guys with Darius Garland, which I'm okay with. I was okay with moving Darius Garland. But if this just ends up in another second-round exit for the Cavaliers with James Harden, there's going to be a lot of soul-searching this offseason. Like, what do you do with James Harden? What is this? We were talking here about a month ago about the LeBron James return home. At this point, I just don't even know what you would do with this rendition of the roster. Forget bringing LeBron back at this point. What are you doing with Donovan Mitchell? Because is he going to sign an extension with a team that gets bounced in the second round again? And that's the reality of the situation. And I get it, Donovan, he is responsible somewhat for these second round exits, but you can only do so much. And he's holding his end of the bargain up. The Cavaliers, some of these other guys, like you mentioned, Rob, aren't holding up their end of the bargain. And, yeah, that's just what it comes down to.
And real quick, and here's the other end of the spectrum, too. You bring up that guy who is currently employed in Los Angeles. The other end of the spectrum, would he want to come in this situation if this team doesn't go past the second round? If the Cavs face Boston in round 2, it probably won't end well. And does LeBron want to put himself in that fire when they got their own situation going on in Los Angeles with the Lakers? I don't know.
That is so far away at this point in time. Let's let this, the next couple of months play out, and then we'll see where everybody's at. The one thing I do know is, with the way the NBA especially works, is that we're not going to be able to really predict anything. The state of the league, the state of whatever's happening in a couple of months. So, yeah, I mean, someone is going to get hurt. Someone's going to outperform their expectations. There's just going to be a lot of goofy stuff happening for the rest of the next couple of weeks and months. And the Cavaliers, I think we all kind of alluded to it. They just kind of have to play how they're capable and hope that chaos ensues with a Boston team or a Knick team or anybody else kind of wandering around and trying to get through the East.
And one last thing, Donovan Mitchell, can he hold up? And Cavs play tomorrow. I can see a scenario where they rest them tomorrow against Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Cleveland Clinics. So I can see them being him being arrested, but can his body hold up? Because if based on injury history with Donovan Mitchell, if the soft tissue becomes a legitimate thing, walking into the playoffs, all of a sudden James Harden becomes perhaps the number one scoring option for Cleveland, and then he'll have to be even more aggressive in the playoffs instead of just
watch more Guardians ball. At that rate, because if there's honestly, and all due respect to Mitchell and Allen and everybody else on that team, or I'm sorry, Harden and Allen, if Mitchell goes down, the show's over. Hey, let's just pack this thing up. We'll be the Indiana Pacers this year for the last however long of the season. We'll play in the playoffs. We'll see what happens then. But yeah, Mitchell's the only guy on this team where he's hurt. Everybody goes home.
And where's Max Strus? How's Tatum back before Max Strus?
He's rehabbing. He was actually cleared for on-court workouts last couple of days. So I think he is finally progressing, and hopefully, he'll be able to get back for that, late December timeline that we were all hoping for at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
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 I think I was on a pregame show for the Cavs in January saying that, they expect him back soon. So, at this rate, who knows? And he's been out for so long anyway. What is he going to be able to give you in 20 games of the regular season and something in the play? I don't know. So whatever you get is going to be gravy, but who the hell knows?
Who knows?
But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have AA Anthony Alford. We have Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki. We've gone about 35 minutes here on Cavs Talk. We were going to bleed into the NFL a little bit this segment. Do you want to take a small break right now, gentlemen, and hit the NFL a little bit later on in the show? Do you want to trudge along here, or an idea that I'm not coming up with yet?
I defer to the program director of the Inside Edge Network AA.
We can take a break.
And that is the grace under pressure that we have gotten used to here at the Inside Edge Network when AA has to make a decision. Actually, you did show a little bit more poise when Stephen A. Smith stormed off the set when the Knicks weren't playing well. The only thing I could think of is how is he going to handle the situation room? So you did handle yourself with a little bit more poise than maybe a future president of the United States. But we'll get into the NFL. And speaking of the president of the United States, the White House has been perking up in the news cycle, especially on the sports page the last couple of days, weeks, months, whatever. Got a few stories about that, and I have some thoughts, too, that quite honestly I've been waiting to share all week. And then later on, too, we'll have some news and notes. We'll talk a little spring training ball, and we'll try to get everybody going on their way before, 4 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast.
New record this week.
But, hey, at least we did spring back. At least we did spring ahead. So at least we did have a little bit of daylight here, so it was kind of nice to have. But this is the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have AA Anthony Alford. We have Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki. Together we are the main event, and we will be back. Welcome back to the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got Double A Anthony Alford. We got Eli Moon. I am Rozycki. I just stepped on my glasses. And we are back here. We have a lot to talk about this segment. It was weird. I think before football offseason started, we were all worried that we were going to be lacking content, going into what is the dormant time here in American sports. But the world is giving us a lot to talk about. We got some NFL free agency that we'll hit a little bit at the end of this segment. But first and foremost, we have the White House. The White House has been in the news three different ways, actually, over the last few days when it pertains to sports. And the first one, the President of the United States had a roundtable discussion with a bunch of college sports types about what they can do to fix college sports. Obviously, NIL, the lack of regulation is a problem. We got the transfer portal. We have massive movement. It seems like every offseason and every college sport now is the Wild West, and it does need some control. I'm not saying it was a bad idea, but the ideas that came out of this meeting, the first and foremost really was Trump wishing that, quote, we return to a pre-NIL era. He said, I'd like to go exactly back to what we had and ram it through a court. So, yes, we had a bunch of college types, athletic directors, former players, coaches, all those kind of guys. Tiger Woods was in there too. But no representation from the actual players. No Jeremiah Love, no Fernando Mendoza, no guys from the NCAA or women from the NCAA for that matter. No women, period. We have this whole conundrum going on. Apparently, the President of the United States wants us to go back to the college kids playing for free.
And you wonder, because you talked about like the players not being involved with this, how many players, unfortunately, would go back? They got paid already. Like, how many would go back and stick their nose out and look out for the next generation of players to be paid? And I think unfortunately that's where a lot of these conference types, these big corporate types, they may have the leg up on this. That's where they may have the leg up. How many are willing to stand on their 2 feet and say, hey, the next generation should get paid after
the other problem is that when you talk about college athletes, if you're around for a long time, you're only in that labor force for 6 years. You got athletic directors, coaches. Nick Saban was coaching for 45, 50 years. Guys that have been in administrations in some of these schools have been around just as long. It's a war of attrition. And in this case, resources, one of the resources is time. The ADs have all the time in the world, and the players don't.
Yeah, and I think, but the frustrating thing is these guys should care. These guys and girls should care enough to want to keep the NIL structure around, and by going and speaking at these types of things, they were even presented the opportunity, but if they were able to speak at these types of things, they could obviously go to bat for the next generations. That's what I think it's about too. To Double A's point, I guess that's where I would hope there would be people that would speak out and highlight the positives that obviously the NIL has brought. We've had discussions on this show about the problems with college football and things like that, but there's a lot of good with NIL, and I don't know. I think this whole thing's a little frustrating.
Well, we got an Urban Meyer clip. We could play part of it here. We don't need to play the whole thing.
Well, was he in a bar this time, or?
I wish we had that clip. Not this time. But okay. No, this is courtesy of good old C-SPAN, who, by the way, this has nothing to do. This is not a plug for the network, but you should watch Washington Journal. I heard former presidents or current presidents call into that show in the mornings and prank calls. Okay.
I didn't hear any presidents. I heard this guy named John Barron, though.
Yeah, that guy. No, that's Eli. Let's play a little bit of this Urban Meyer clip, courtesy of C-SPAN.
trust, then you now will not get litigated. And I would eliminate, the only thing I dislike about the SCORE Act is that, and Coach Saban and I have visited about this, Mac Brown and I have visited about this, get rid of the collectives. That's cheating. When donors, so everyone understands what a collective is. Donors put money in a pot, it's distributed to players through the coach and the general manager according to your talent level. That's not allowed. Not supposed to do that. That's called pay for play. So there's a revenue share that the universities get through their television contracts, and I know it goes up every year. That's their only that's the only thing they're allowed to do for their student athletes. They can distribute that however they want. That's still pay for play. But any NIL conversations, which NIL, I think we all got to quit calling it that. It's not name and likeness. The players getting paid millions of dollars in some of the stories I hear, and they're posting an Instagram for twice, and then they're getting paid $1.5 million. So the NIL, to me, NIL in its purest form is America. It's called capitalism. If you can make money on your name, you should have a right to do that. If you're a gymnast, a volleyball player, a swimmer, a football player, and a car dealership wants to work with you legally in the business world, do it. That's what NIL should be. That's not what it is. So you get rid of the collective, becomes an illegal entity. There's no such thing. That even to this day, that makes my skin curl when I hear a collective. Get the donors out of it. If a business owner wants to hire Jeremiah Smith and pay him a certain amount of money, he's certainly allowed to do that. That's called capitalism. But the universities cannot arrange that and set that up. The universities can simply make sure the kids go to school.
Okay, I do, I admire Herb for, wanting the kids to go out. When I would say kids, and we're meaning 20-year-old adults going out and getting endorsement money. I understand that, but the reason why you have these collectives that Urban Meyer bitches about is because the NCAA didn't want to do anything. It's because the NCAA wanted to keep their heads in the sand. The NCAA, who has member schools, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, USC, UCLA, Oregon, we all know the schools, they make hundreds of millions of dollars off the program. Now, yes, that money does go help fund other sports, but at the same time, these guys don't want to take any money out of their own pocket. They're completely cool with other third parties paying these players. But the only reason why the NCAA is in this mess is because they didn't want to pay these players directly. They didn't want to treat them like employees. They didn't want to give them health insurance. They don't want to have them unionize. They don't want any of the rights that comes with being an employee. So if Urban Meyer's ticked off at that, I don't know what he's talking to Congress about. The NCAA dropped the ball on that one 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Blake. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, they 1,000% did. And, I just think it's crazy that we're trying to revert back when we've seen so many situations where guys have, like you said, Rob, there's no insurance, there's no protection in case these guys make a bad decision. Now, granted, we've seen some crazy things happen with college basketball and going back to school, but regardless, I think for the most part we had no protection in case if a guy got hurt and had, look at Lattimore. I believe Marcus Lattimore, from South Carolina, one of the best running backs I can remember in college football, and he got hurt before he got to the NFL. He had two knee injuries, and he never was really the same.
At least he graduated, though.
He graduated. I get that, and that's fair. But I'm just saying. But think about.
I remember hearing one about from Oklahoma. He was a scholarship athlete his freshman year, blew out his knee. The Oklahoma barely paid for anything with treatment or the surgery. I think he had the surgery, and that was about it. Then they tried to put him back on the court. He couldn't play. They cut him, and he, I think, had to go to junior college to finish out his education. Like, at least, some of these guys can graduate. But, yeah, I mean, to your point, Eli, they just chew these guys up and spit them out.
Yeah, and it's sad because there is no protection for these guys. And then, okay, well, if you get hurt and now your football career is over and you didn't really plan on having a backup plan, which, okay, everybody can be like, well, you have to have a backup plan. You have to have a backup plan. I'm going to tell you this right now. If I'm running a 4.340, I'm the number one wide receiver or whatever in college football, and I'm projected to go pro.
And you're an ACL injury away from all that going away.
Right, but I'm not worrying about a backup plan, is what I'm saying. As an athlete, that's why this NIL is so important. You should take care of the guys for why they're getting a scholarship. These guys and girls are getting scholarships, not typically because now some get academic/athletic, but a lot of these are athletic scholarships. They go away if you can't be an athlete. Mm-hmm. So why shouldn't they get paid? Is my whole thing. So that's and I guess like if I put myself in the mind of an athlete, if I'm a stud wide receiver, running back, whatever, quarterback, I'm not wondering about going to biology class. I'm worrying about going to the pros, and there should be some protection in case that doesn't work out.
Now, two things. I will agree with Urban Meyer on one thing here. If a business is paying one of these athletes to be a sponsor, and then they only post about said business one time, that's a little bit of a problem. But that has nothing to do with what they're talking about. Like, that has nothing to do with any of that. That's just a local business operating a bad deal and the student athlete not following through. And that comes with marketing, and it comes with teaching these young guys how to market if they're going to take that money. So that's point number one. The second point, I find it funny that it's Urban Meyer and Nick Saban talking about this. Two of the dominant head coaches in college athletics, but they both left the sport basically when NIL came to town.
And both played and both coached for schools that were strongly associated with, duffel bags getting dropped off and cars getting left in certain places and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm like, during those times, those two coaches had the recruiting advantages over everybody else. So that tells me they're just upset in terms of metrics, in terms of, oh, well, we didn't really have that much success. So they see NIL as a dark cloud.
Because it takes control away from them.
Correct.
It does. And Urban Meyer and President Trump, they golf together regularly. So
I think Saban was also involved with that too here and there. Yeah, so they're both connected.
Both of those guys have a direct ear to the president in terms of why they don't like the system. And
well, they're both old rich white.
Real quick, and that gives the president enough so-called knowledge to say, oh, we need to go back to the way I got news for you. It ain't happening. You open the can. It's not. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and it's. Yeah, I agree with you, Doubly. There really isn't too much to add, at least on my end, except for the fact that would Urban Meyer really be doing this if Indiana didn't go on the run they just went on the last year, 2 years, really? I mean, I know they won the national championship this January that just happened, but they also were in the playoffs last year. So we're really having this conversation. If Indiana didn't go on the run they're having in football right now, if Nebraska's looking good in basketball for the Big Ten, they're having a decent year. These teams that typically wouldn't be good in college sports are looking good. I know we're talking a completely different sport right now, but I just want to bring up there's wrestlers. There's a wrestler, Bo Bassett, who's going to Virginia Tech. They're talking about him going to Virginia Tech. And I was trying to wrap my head around this morning. I'm like, why wouldn't he go to Penn State? Why wouldn't he go to Ohio State? Some of these wrestling schools, Cornell, one of these schools. And I'm like, well, and I gotta do more research. Like I said, it's still a fresh story to me, but I'd imagine NIL has something to do with that. But I think that the
number one prospect in the NBA draft, he's going to BYU.
Right.
And basketball powerhouse.
And these powerhouses, to your point, Rob, in AA, the Ohio States and Alabamas of the world are not as thrilled about this because their brand isn't the only thing that can bring you to the dance anymore. Now, if you have if you have a Mark Cuban, then guess what? You have an opportunity to even the playing field again with the money.
And it's also the playing field is even. The control is taken away from the bullies in that way. And the other bit of control that's being taken away from these head coaches who are control freaks, You don't become a big-time college football coach without being a control freak. Most of these coaches can have a player come up to him and say, fuck you, I make more money than you. I'll do what I want. Yeah. And these guys now aren't beholden, like Joe Paterno back in the day, Nick Saban back in the day, Bear Bryant, all of the Tom Osborne, pick any big. The reason why they could do what they do at these programs is because they had 150 guys in pads that were willing to die instead of disappoint the head coach. And now that just, and you throw the transfer portal in there going, hey coach, if I piss you off, I'll go play for Kentucky next year. I don't care. So the lack of control for these coaches, I think is the main point when it comes down to it. And in this case, money is control and money is power. And I don't think they like the players being that empowered. It was a lot easier for that 19-year-old kid to just sit in a corner and do what he was told.
And this is where things are going to be interesting too. If you're thinking locally here, you think of Ohio State. Have you guys checked Ohio State's schedule for the upcoming 2026 football season?
What do they have? They got Ashland Community College, I think. They got Miami. They got Bowling Green's JV team, right? I think that was another one on the schedule.
They got ITT Tech. They got Ole Miss. They got
Ole Miss. Oh no! Oh no!
Come on now.
They're playing the Ethiopian national team. Yeah, yeah.
Their schedule is effing loaded.
Oh, it is. I'm going the other way.
There is a strong chance Ohio State does not go to the college football playoff in 2026, 27. And Indiana is in complete position to run the Big Ten, Indiana football. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Urban Meyer still works in Columbus. He's still obviously still tied in heavily to Ohio State. So I think he understands too, to your guys' point, that the grip, if NIL continues to have this level of power, the grip that Ohio State has could be lost to a Mark Cuban at Indiana.
Oh yeah. You pick, look at why Arkansas has Coach Calipari. Like I think it's like Tyson Foods or something that like the entire family went there and they got hundreds of millions of dollars and they bought a head coach. That's exactly and it's Arkansas, so it's a smaller SEC school. But yeah, I mean Miami, they're buying players. They're they go to the transfer portal every year for a quarterback now, and it costs them anywhere between $4 and $8 million to get Cam Ward or Carson back, or I think I forget who they grabbed this time around, but it's the Duke kid, even though he signed a contract with Duke. So yeah, I mean it's definitely a situation where the guys that have had the power and the control are losing the power and control, and they don't like it. And that's human nature. The one thing I did want to, expound on this one here too. And I know, it seems like we have an NIL discussion about once a month here. The fact that the president of the United States, he is planning on issuing an executive order, basically ignoring past court decisions on athlete compensation. It's why NIL exists right now, is why these are because of these court orders. He is going to release an executive order. This one's going to be more comprehensive, and it appears it's going to re-implement re-implement the NIL pre-NIL stuff. It's going to be strong enough in its language that Trump expects to invoke legal challenges through this executive order. And his hope is that this executive order is going to prone a bunch of lawsuits to send this back in the Stone Age. Now, long story short, is this a situation that we need the president for? Does the president is he needed in the NIL discussion in college sports?
No.
Okay.
I mean, just
back to you.
Yeah, I mean, clear as day. I mean, clear as day. No. There's other things to be focusing on, and this is not one of them. This isn't broken. There's nothing broken with it. Is there things that need to be worked on?
It's broken. but I don't think it's illegal.
Right. But I think it could be fixed very quickly. I don't think the president needs to get involved. I think there's other things in the world going on besides college athletes making money and people being upset that college athletes are making money. I know. It's a frustrating thing to some people still in 2026 that college athletes make money, but it's okay.
So I'm going to hate my own answer. The answer is no, but this is the type of issue that will win votes among people who are not watching a YouTube show and people who care deeply about college athletes getting paid, typically in the Southeast, in Republican country. This is the type of issue that could win votes. That's why Trump's getting involved, and that's why Trump truly doesn't care about this. But he knows that people who, again, are not watching YouTube, they're listening to Paul Feinbaum and listening to sports talk radio and wondering why Alabama's struggling this year. And they're going to look and say, oh, it's because college players are getting paid. This is the type of thing that could win votes just by his involvement and him saying that he's going to get involved.
Hopefully this isn't for votes, because no one will ever be able to vote for him again. He's turned
in the party. That's what I meant. Like in the party.
I think what this is doing more than, and I think it's weird because you see this Trump shtick work, try to, go on other candidates use it and it doesn't work as well for them. I think this only applies to Trump. Eli, I think, is more on the nose here. I think there's other things going on in the world that he should be worried about, that are deserving to be worried about, but he knows a photo op with Nick Saban can distract that. He knows a round of golf with Urban Meyer and Tiger Woods can distract that. It's called sports washing. He's doing exactly the same thing the Saudis are doing, only, to hide the fact, instead of hacking up journalists and not letting women drive, he's got the war in Iran and the Epstein list to deal with. And gas prices are now at about $4 a gallon. I think we've had the number I heard was we've had 14 months in the last 15 years where we've lost jobs as a country. And out of those, 13 of them were for Trump. So, he's having some issues. And I think the dog and pony show of sports can distract and make it look a little cooler. And I guess that goes to the other, another one of these stories where the White House is kind of popping up. I guess where all three of us I don't want to speak for the three of us on this one, but I think all three of us can say popping up where it doesn't belong. And this is courtesy of The Athletic. It was around multiple outlets. The Trump administration put out, I want to say about 3 days ago, 2 videos of, I guess, height videos of actual strikes of targets in Iran. And for those of you who don't know, and for those of you who don't pay attention to current events, this is a real sentence. The former host of The Apprentice and a weekend Fox News host killed the Ayatollah Khomeini. That really happened. We're striking Iran. We have all this stuff happening right now, bombs over Tehran and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of these attacks and footage of these attacks have been spliced up in height videos, mixed up with big NFL hits. With I think a Ken Griffey Jr. home run comes to mind on the baseball side of things. He's using sports in a lot of ways, and other stuff. I think Tropic Thunder was mentioned. I think some songs are mentioned, in some of these other videos. But he's using sports to hype up his war in Iran.
And he's just, and that's the thing. Like he's a sports fan. I mean, this is the scariest thing too. When you have that second term, and he had that break, so he had 4 years to study what he wanted to do and kind of push through. So you have that second term. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he's involving the power players in sports to tie back into the first discussion. He's involving those guys because they're locked in step. And this is wrong. But is there enough pushback to stop this before someone and various people get hurt?
Well, for what it's worth, unlike Ben Stiller and Tropic Thunder, unlike a lot of these artists that are coming out saying, "Don't use our stuff," the Major League Baseball and NFL have not released a statement in any way. Nobody knew if they were warned about this beforehand. They haven't said pull it and get it down. They haven't said anything. They've just stayed pretty silent on this.
Yeah, it's we talk about all the time about sports being like that, like escape. I've talked about it on multiple shows I'm on here on, Prime Time with, me and Chad Bryan. We have that conversation about how just having silly conversations about sports sometimes. And it's frustrating. I mean, you guys know how I stand. I'm not a politics guy. This is kind of, the politics has become more of a human being thing than a politics thing in this country anymore. But I'm just, well, come on, man. Just leave our sports alone, man. That's what I'm at. Can sports just be sports for a minute? And I know that's a crazy question to ask in 2026 because I'm sure the answer is no. I'm sure it can't be. But why can't we just have sports be sports, man? It's just so frustrating sometimes.
And it flipped in the last 10 years because 10 years ago it was the whole kneeling down and stuff like that.
Shut up and dribble.
And you got that. So now in 2026. Is completely different, from that standpoint. And I think they see the power. I mean, Trump's going to keep at it. So 10 years ago, it was a popular thing for sports leagues to stop that. The problem was it was the commissioners and ownerships of these sports leagues that were publicly saying, oh, we don't like what's going on, and then they were still voting. So while the players were protesting, they were still voting on that end. So now this go around in 2026, they know that if Trump is not on their side, Trump will come after them. So
yeah, that's it.
It's partly they support what's going on, but yes, they are also scared because they think if they cross Trump in any way, he has enough power and influence and support at the very top where he could screw your league over and get that whole movement to not watch your product anymore.
Well, it's not even lack of eyeballs. All these leagues have antitrust exemptions. Baseball, football, basketball, everything. All of these leagues, most of these leagues are looking for international expansion. Browns are playing in Paris. They're playing games in Australia and South America now in the NFL. The NBA is going abroad. Major League Baseball is going abroad. They're also, not for nothing, in the case of Major League Baseball and the NBA and the NHL, are heavily reliant on foreign talent that have to clear, customs and all that kind of stuff and make sure their paperwork are okay. Not to mention, too, along with all of that, they're billions of dollars. There's corporate mergers involved. There's any bit of financial stakes that need to be approved by the FCC. So in this case, when you talk about the leagues, the more you have to lose. And the leagues right now have an awful lot to lose if they do piss off the commander-in-chief, who, with this NIL story, has proven that he does not give two shits about what the historical purview of the president is, what is normally under his radar. So, yeah, we have a vindictive, we have a transactional leader who is looking to be made happy. And if the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball want to keep making their dollars, they'll be like that 19-year-old kid, playing for Joe Pa, and they'll sit down and shut up.
I'm actually, I'm looking on the side here. I have the Athletic article that you are referencing here. And do check it out because you do see the two videos. We can't play the videos here because we actually respect copyright. I'm
not even worried about that. I have fucking morals. I'm not playing that shit on this show.
But you got Pokemon speaking out because they used Pikachu images without their permission, and different artists and musicians. Because what happens too is, and we've seen it, if if a politician, and this is where I'll speak broadly on any side, if a politician is using your stuff on social media, and in this case, they're using the White House thing because Trump himself is technically not on Twitter, but he's feeding through the White House. But all of a sudden, your song and your music and you as an artist, you're associated with that politician. And in the world of 2026, that's either a good thing or not.
And in the world of 2026, artists are entitled for compensation for any use of their product.
Mm-hmm. And Pikachu.
Correct. Royalties. Yeah, royalties. Got to pay up.
Paid, bitches.
Yeah, you got to pay up. You got to pay up. And also, it's a brand thing. To Double A's point, yeah, I think that's a big. Both things can be true, but the brand thing is so important. Like, yeah, I can speak as somebody who's an artist, like a music artist. I can tell you, I'm very, very careful in terms of who I work with, and obviously
you have to by the company you keep.
Correct. So you just have to make smart decisions, and these artists obviously don't rock with that, and I can completely understand why. Like it's just I don't understand. This whole thing just makes me pissed. I just get so frustrated. Like I don't know. That's my only words on it.
Okay. Well, Moon, we'll cleanse the palate here. We'll make you happy. I actually have a UFC story we can talk about too. So we'll talk about the fight game to make you a little happy. So UFC 250 is at the White House.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they announced the card the other day. No John Jones, no Amanda Nunes, no really primetime old guard UFC star on this thing. I thought I saw an Alex Pereira sighting. Few other guys, but what do you, have you had a chance to look at this UFC 1776 card yet, or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, as far as just for the fighting sake of it, it's not a bad card. I mean, Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje is a good fight. I think that's the main event, so that'll be a good. I mean, Ilia Topuria is one of the best fighters in the world right now, so I think that'll be a good fight. I think Alex Pereira, that'll be cool to see him, obviously. You mentioned no Nunes. Her fight against Kayla Harrison had been called off. I believe it was about a month ago, roughly now. So she probably wasn't going to get this opportunity. But you see it here as AA has it up. Sean O'Malley on the card, Michael Chandler, Bo Nickel, Diego Lopez. There's some names that stands out. I mean, getting Diego Lopez on this card is pretty cool too. So I mean, there's some names that stand out. Cyril Gane obviously against Pereira. I don't know, man. It's just it's just over the top, man. UFC Freedom
now,
250.
This is going to be the first ever professional sporting event at the White House, which I believe was opened in about 1803, 1804. So, do you look at these fighters any differently for jumping on this card, or is it a case of the fight game's a tough game and any gig's a good gig?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of these guys unfortunately had a choice. I mean, a lot of them are under fight contracts, and you can choose, I guess, and say I don't want to take this fight. But if you're, double, if you don't mind putting up the
forcing somebody to do something.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it sounds terrible, Rob. But double, if you don't mind, yeah. So
I'm not fighting you.
Yeah. You have some of these other guys on the card, and and this is just the main card, right? So some of these prelim guys and girls that are put in these positions, they might not have an opportunity Topuria, Gaethje to say maybe no, I'm cool on this. So they might just have to take it. But yeah, I just think this whole thing's over the top. UFC Freedom 250. I just think it's silly. I think the whole thing's silly. But I am excited as a fight fan to watch Topuria versus Gaethje. I just wish it was in Vegas or something, where it usually is. Vegas or Cleveland, maybe, somewhere else.
Well, this is where if Trump's on your side, you get this card. I mean, this is Trump's a UFC guy, and that's why. And here's the funny thing: TKO and UFC, they're going to be financially hit hard. I think they got to pay $60 million to build an entire setup in front of the White House from scratch to have that card on that Sunday. So I mean, from a fighter standpoint, you're going to take the payday. You have to. This the biggest payday of the year. support your family and stuff. So you're going to take that payday. And that's probably not a fight worth, standing up against that. It's not a fight that you're going to win there. But yeah, certainly. I will say this though. I did watch a little bit of UFC last night. They had an hour or so on CBS, and I don't know. I don't want to hate on UFC at all. It seems soulless. It seems
WWE felt like that to me before I started not watching. Like the last year or so of TKO WWE.
Yeah, it felt. I guess part of it though, when UFC was on Spike TV and a little bit when they were on Fox Sports. Yeah, we knew the UFC brand was big, absolutely. But again, we knew all the guys. We knew all the people competing. We knew their personalities for the most part, and you could root for those guys. They weren't doing anything offensive from that standpoint. It felt like watching the part that I watched a good chunk of the 9 o'clock hour on CBS last night, and it was, we stretch. All right, we got to go to commercial. We're back. All right, we got to go to break. This fight's
going for paywall. I got to pay those bills.
We got to go to break.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, and I think it's a TKO issue too. I mean, I think we can have a discussion, I'm sure, about that. But I think it's a TKO issue. I mean, they're obviously the parent company of both the UFC and the WWE. So I mean, Rozycki, you mentioned about how WWE was feeling like that. Well, I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence that both of them are starting to feel like that around the same time. Because I mean, I've covered multiple UFC events. To WWE's point, the energy in those rooms have been electric before, but it's been tough to follow it as much as I have. I still keep up with it, and there are some talented fighters that are worth watching, but it's tough to keep up with it, and it's just because, everything is how to make a quick dollar anymore, and hey, we'll put you on Paramount Plus, and it'll be $7.99, but now you're going to get 25 extra commercials to watch through, and you're also still paying for it. So,
and I'll add this too real quick. You look at this card. I'll put the card back up here for a second. You look at this card. All right. It's on CBS, Paramount Plus. You couldn't land John Jones. All right, fine. Conor McGregor, I guess the strategy with McGregor is, okay, he sells the card himself. So maybe he'll be on UFC 251. I get it from a business standpoint, but okay. So that also tells me that if you're relying on a couple of guys who were legends in the 2010s, it's kind of what we talked about in the past with WWE. Who on this card is going to be that person, or two people from this card that you're going to go on the morning shows, you're going to go on the press tours and say, this is why you need to watch UFC Freedom.
Yeah, Chuck Liddell going on Regis and Kathy and making jokes.
Yeah.
And, that kind of,
The only guy, not to interrupt, the only guy that I could have seen probably doing this, I mean, Pereira is just near the end of his career, I'd say. Like, this is on legacy mode for him right now. Tapuria, he's an interesting one for boxing because he keeps talking about the idea of boxing eventually and has talked about it with numerous big-time boxers. But then you have Diego Lopez, who's had some interesting fights against Alexander Volkanovski, and I think that guy could have been somebody the UFC could have marketed because he's a lot of fun to watch. He's got a unique look in terms of like fans like when he fights. He's got like the mullet, the party in the back. He's got the stash. Like Diego Lopez is fun, and I think that he could have been somebody, but unfortunately he lost twice to Alexander Volkanovski, and he has no title to show for it, so you can't really push the guy he's the first fight on the main card for a reason because he hasn't got the job done.
Well, O'Malley seems like he's got some personality too. He's one of the names me as a completely novice fan know, along with Pereira. So,
O'Malley, right. But he's so money hungry. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's like he's just so he
is. Yeah, I mean, he also, the last I heard him too was that he had no ground game. If he has to go and try to wrestle somebody, he's basically just trying not to die.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's money hungry, but there's a lot of guys with personality that are money hungry out there. But there's no Liddell, there's no Rampage, there's no Conor McGregor, there's not a whole lot happening with that. So I don't know. It's the UFC's kind of stuck in a spot. I think that's kind of where Dana White wants it. It's kind of what a promoter's dream, where you have a bunch of people that no one's paying to see. You're going to the UFC card because it's the UFC card. The WWE does the same thing. They got maybe 3 or 4 guys that would draw money on their own. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, who on the heel side, maybe Seth Rollins would draw money on their own at an indie show. Come see CM Punk, come see these guys. The other dudes and gals are completely interchangeable. So if somebody bitches about not getting enough money, if somebody bitches about being too low on the card or not being on the card at all, next we got 20 guys that can come up and do something at least. Maybe, okay, if they're bad, they'll be entertainingly bad. If they're good, they'll be entertainingly good. Nobody will give a shit, though, because they're just going to the UFC. They're not going to see, Pereira or O'Malley or whoever anymore. It's kind of just a dead thing, and I think Dana White likes it that way.
But there's a reason that the WWE had to switch to the WWE Network for back 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever it was, and drop it to $9.99 is because people didn't care eventually at a certain point. That's the reason why UFCs have to drop to Paramount Plus. They were charging $60 a pay-per-view. Now we're getting every pay-per-view for $7.99 if you get Paramount Plus. And WWE is still the same thing typically. I mean, I know you get doing 30 with ESPN. They kind of switched it a little bit since. And that's just a TKO thing, obviously, the cash grab. But at the end of the day, they are significantly lower. So if the UFC fans, if MMA fans want to affect the UFC, they'll just continue to stop watching. The viewership has gone down. At least it feels like to me. I used to have a conversation with everybody, and I'd have to see the numbers, but I used to have a conversation with everybody, it felt like, about the UFC. Nowadays, it's, hey, you may have 5 to 10 people you may know in your life that have a conversation and know more than 5 fighters. It's
10 to 15 years ago, I could have a conversation with you for 15 minutes about UFC and be able to hold my own instead of having to use a lot of notes and admitting a lot of my just complete not knowing anything of what's going on this. So I mean, I guess it's where they want. They're making their money. They're making their money off the TV rights now. They're making their money off of basically everything but ticket sales. So it's kind of a new ballgame.
And that's why I pay close attention to what Jake Paul's doing, because after seeing that UFC 250 card, at this moment, Ronda Rousey's in the biggest MMA fight of the year at this moment, the casuals.
I'm waiting for Jake Paul to find Ronda Rousey. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, what Jake Paul's kind of doing right now, and I know he signed a new deal with ESPN. I believe it's an all women's. I don't remember if it's all women's boxing or all women's MMA. I think it's boxing. But he's promoting names, and pay close attention to what's going on there with the Paul brothers and what they're doing, because over a decade ago, Dana White and the UFC gave up on promoting names and chose to promote the brand and Dana. Like, Dana's going to be the one doing all those press tours.
Yeah, Dana's the star of the show now. Dana's the one who's going to be on Paramount, on ESPN, selling this stuff. That's what he's going to be doing. Now, I grouped all these stories together because there was one key thing in this block. If it was college sports, if it was the war in Iran, if it was now, this whole UFC 1776 card. The White House, and we've alluded to it in this conversation, the White House is distracting us. The White House is distracting itself. The White House is doing everything but its job at this point in time. And I could turn this into a diatribe about the state of the world, right? Actually, you know what? While I'm talking about the president, I'll do something he couldn't do in Dover. I'll take off my hat. We can get into just how abysmal the last year and a half and change has been. That's easy. I mean, we could, I don't know if this is the show for it, but we can do that. Or we can take a look and do what we've been trying to do for the last 45 minutes. And I hand it to these guys who are doing their damnedest to not talk about the president and not talk about him overstepping his bounds. It took me to question that, to pull it out of these guys. They want to talk UFC. They want to talk college sports. I want to talk about sports. I want to talk about Major League Baseball. By the way, I don't think we're getting the NFL free agency right now. And that's how stupid this is that the biggest story in sports, we got to push back because the White House actually can't focus on what they need to focus on. All that being said, we can talk about how crap this is. Eli said it. I think Double A was meaning it the whole way too. Can we stay in our lane? The President of the United States should have nothing to do with NIL. The President of the United States should have nothing to do with the overtime rules in the NFL or the kickoff rules in the NFL. The President of the United States hasn't met with a sitting commissioner in any sport in 20 fucking years. He does it with all four of these guys. And guess what? I think he was conveying the message to all four of those commissioners that we were talking about, saying, hey, if you want your international expansion, if you want your business deals, if you want your eyeballs on TV, then you better do what exactly I say. And he's sports watching this whole thing. He's either taking the attention away from Iran, he's taking the attention away from diddling little kids in the Epstein list, and he's trying to say, all right, I'm the cool guy. I know Nick Saban. I'm the cool guy. I can call the U.S. Olympic hockey team whenever I want. Remember that one? That was 2 weeks ago. That seems like that's 1.5 billion years ago now. Sports is sports. Politics should be politics. And yes, it isn't irritating when the athletes start talking about sports or about politics. Absolutely, it can be. If it's Colin Kaepernick kneeling, if it's Joey Bosa wearing a MAGA hat in the background at a 49ers game, either side can get annoying. That's their right. That is what they are as American citizens. We have a First Amendment here for a reason, and by and large, the leagues don't suspend guys for doing such things. So that is their right to do it. And the hard thing about being in government, the hard thing about being a president or a governor or a mayor or a house rep or the dog catcher is that you have to take a lot of bullshit and you have to have a lot of people acting in ways that you can't act. The president of the United States can't talk about this shit. You're the president. The athletes can. The athletes are American citizens. The athletes are part of this country. And yeah, it might be irritating for both sides. I get it. But the president of the United States, if it has been Biden, if it has been Obama, if it even has been George W. Bush, we'll go bipartisan on this shit. If it has been even Reagan before him, they knew their place in sports. They knew their place when it came down to balls and strikes or touchdowns or field goals or anything along that line. And it is becoming insanely difficult to watch sports without having this guy influence everything that's going on. He was what the ML or the FIFA Club Championship, the one that Inter Miami ended up, or no, Inter Miami was in. They were playing in North America. He was randomly on the stage handing the trophy out. So when you look at me and say, keep the athletes out of politics, how about we keep the fucking politicians out of sports? How about you do that? Because that would make everybody's life easier. And you know what? If we had an FBI director that wasn't convinced that he needed to go to Italy to party with the national hockey team, maybe Nancy Guthrie might be found by now. If we have a president who, instead of wanting to do college sports roundtables and all that other bullshit, maybe we might have a solution to the war in Iran. Or maybe you might have time as an administration to release the fucking Epstein files the way that you were told to by Congress. Why is it that when people tell you to do something, you don't listen to them, but you feel like everybody else has to listen to every damn word you say? That's my whole thing with this. We just spent 45 minutes of a sports show talking about, and we didn't really go outside the lines. I wasn't trying to pull stuff from politics and make it sports. These sports stories were politics stories before they were sports. So you know what? And I'm sorry to our listeners, if you don't like us talking about politics, I cannot wait for a day that we don't have to worry about what the White House thinks about anything going on in Major League Baseball, in the NCAA, in college sports, in tiddlywinks. It is not their place.
Wait till the World Cup.
Oh yeah, well yeah, dude. And we got the we got the World Cup happening here in just a couple of weeks. We got the 28 games. He's still going to be president for that one, by the way, in LA. And then, like, what the hell are we doing here? Like this is, and whatever you're trying to distract me from, I'll speak for myself. You ain't distracting me from shit. I'm watching footage of oil refineries on fire in Iran. I'm seeing reports of soldiers being killed over in Tehran. I'm seeing reports of you throwing your MAGA cap on and saluting these sons of bitches like Gomer fucking Pyle with absolutely no respect. How about you do the job of commander-in-chief and head of the executive branch of the government, and we'll let the athletes and the commissioners and the coaches and the reporters and the hot dog guy worry about the fucking sports.
I don't even think we need a tease. I think we just roll right to break with that. That was fire.
News and notes next. We'll figure out what we've learned. Obviously, I've learned some things the last few hours. Eli, do you have anything?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I think we walked it off. I think we walked it off. No, go ahead. We walked it off.
All right, yeah, we'll talk news and notes coming up next. We'll figure out what we've learned. We'll wrap this puppy up, and I think we might actually be out of here before 12:30 at night. That'll be a personal record for all of us. Again, I am Rob Rozycki. I'm probably the one you're pretty pissed at right now if you're a Republican. We got Anthony Alford. We got Anthony Alford. We have Eli Moon. I'm going to slow down. I'm Rob Rozycki. This is the main event, and we'll be back. And welcome back to the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got AA Anthony Alford. We have Eli Moon, whose mics are still muted for whatever reason, but we'll go with it. There we go. Hi, gentlemen. We are the final show. We are 2/3 of the way done. But I did want to ask AA. We did talk a little wrestling before this whole thing. From what I understand on this very network, and we can try to keep it a secret apparently, you and one Kyle Cornell, who is still just way too inappropriately tall for his own good, you guys host the Inside Edge Wrestling Podcast. What's going on this week with that one?
Yeah, the Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast. We are on the road to WrestleMania. We're going to talk Cody Rhodes. He's the champion again. And it was funny. We talked about it before. So the most disliked video, you brought this to my attention, Rob, before the show. Take the insider stuff out of it. This man lost to Drew McIntyre in January. He lost the Royal Rumble. He lost the Elimination Chamber. And he's still going to be walking in the door as WWE Undisputed Champion facing Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
One of the comments was ruthless depression. Come on, man. Come on.
Hey, it sets up for Randy Orton. People want to see Randy Orton win the title.
But you know who doesn't? Triple H. Who, if Randy beats him, I saw this online. You know, I know you're not supposed to believe everything you see online, but I saw this online that, you know, Randy Orton would have more. Am I correct, AA? He'd have more championships than Triple H. Randy Orton, if he were to beat Cody at Mania. So in
15, Triple H has 14.
So and you know, Triple H. I mean, he calls the shots. So I don't know. I guess
anyway, we'll see how WrestleMania goes. The son-in-law might be expiring here at WWE. Now, on that note, with doing wrestling podcasts, and you know, I listen to more than a few of them myself. How is it to do a podcast about current wrestling when, let's face it, I don't think it's debatable. WWE, AEW, both are pretty much in a pretty hard downswing right now, creatively anyway.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough because it's. I think right now, I'm not going to get on the AEW thing because there will be a fan or two like, "Oh, you hate them." So I'll stick with them.
I do. You can direct all that hate mail to me. My Twitter handle's right there.
Now, what we will debate. I think right now, I think back to what Troy Aikman said about the Cowboys on the American Dream, or the Cowboys. One of those cowboy documentaries. He was like, the Cowboys...
Get the hookers out of here? What? Oh.
Well, when they got the hookers out, they weren't winning. In 94, they weren't as good as they were in 93. And then in 95, they won the title, but they weren't as good as they were in 94. And I think, you know, WWE's in the stretch right now where, you know, 2005, last year, they weren't as good as they were in 2024. And then now, 2026, they're not even as good as they were in 2025. And then to add on to it, things are more expensive. In relation to the last segment, let's see how WrestleMania is going to fly in Saudi Arabia next year. And
yeah.
And I mean, it's, but the television shows have been pretty entertaining week to week. The pay-per-views have been a different story, but there's always stuff to talk about with the TV shows.
Yeah, and I guess now, too, with the current way wrestling is, it isn't 30 years ago where not everybody was smart, not everybody knew what was going on backstage, you know, like that whole AEW all-out thing with CM Punk and Omega and, you know, the Young Bucks. Nobody would have known about that 30 years ago if it went down like that. You know, now we do know all the backstage drama. We know who's signing where. We know who's pissed off at who's, you know, banging who and all that kind of stuff. So I guess there is always something to talk about there.
Can I ask you guys this, though? Do you guys have an issue with ESPN covering pro wrestling, like First Take and stuff like that?
I do.
they're very they've never done it for like the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So like where is this coverage now? I don't know. I get it. I know they got the deal, so they're going to have to. But it doesn't they don't even do their homework. Like when they bring these guys on, a lot of times they're like ask a naive question. I'd rather hear Side Hustle Wrestling podcast interview Dominic Mysterio than First Take. And that's just me, but like at least you guys are informed, you know what I'm saying? Like when they tune into you guys, Kyle and Double A on Side Hustle, you're getting an informed take. When you turn it, in all respect to Stephen A, because he has done, you know, he's been in the game for decades, but he doesn't know pro wrestling. He's not Double A when it comes to pro wrestling. What's that?
He knows what his producer tells him in the IFB.
Yeah, but it's just frustrating. So yeah, Double A, I would say yeah.
I guess for me, the ESPN deal is great from of exposure, right? You have somebody on to promote. The promotion part is fine. All right, smart people up, CM Punk, whoever, right? The weird thing for me that's a little bit off-putting, even as a pro wrestling guy, when SportsCenter in the middle of their highlight package is incorporating, oh, look what happened here, and it's like, I think, do you want to mix that in with like real sports highlights? Like that's tough. That's a tough sell.
And I think real is kind of the word here, and because if you go back in the old school ways of looking at studio wrestling, 60s, 70s, 80s, they were doing everything they could to look like a legitimate sport. They were. It was a complete down the middle broadcast. It looked, as professional as they could back in the day. So I understand why WWE would want to look like the legitimate sport. That always helps you out, and especially a generation or two ago when you had to sell the credibility of the business. Now we all know it's fake, so it doesn't matter. But knowing that it is fake and you put it up on ESPN, that screws with ESPN's credibility more than it helps WWE out. I mean, it helps them out with the megaphone and the promotion of it. But when it comes down to credibility and looking like a real thing, yeah, it's helping out WWE. But, you got, some analysts on SportsCenter treating this like an AFC title game or, a World Series precursor, and like something that is on a legit up and up. And yeah, it almost feels like, they should be talking about, who's in the next Avengers movie too, and reviewing that kind, because it's wrestling. I think for me anyway, even though there's a lot of athleticism in it, it's closer to movies and drama and TV and that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I've always had an issue with that. It looks like ESPN, and again, I've loved wrestling for 25 years. It looks like ESPN's talking more about carnival games. Like they have more legitimacy when they're doing the pillow fighting championship or the cornhole championship than they do pro wrestling, because at least those two things, Power Slap is more on the up and up than what pro wrestling is doing. So it's
when the fighter goes down.
I saw one. Some little chick got hit, and I've never seen it before, where she got hit, the head hit the table, and then she went back. So you got 1 concussion, 2 concussion, 3 concussion, all in one shot. Good.
But God. I will say this real quick about Side Hustle. We normally, almost 95% of the time, we don't evaluate matches. We talk about the storylines. We evaluate the stories going in. And obviously, we'll have a lot to dive into storyline-wise coming up Friday morning. Myself and Kyle Cornell, as we get you ready for WrestleMania 42. Obviously, none of us here on the network or nobody watching the show right now can afford to go to WrestleMania 42. So at least we'll have coverage leading in.
if the WWE doesn't shut it down. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, well, and you can catch out the Side Hustle Wrestling podcast every Friday here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network with Double A and the inappropriately tall Kyle Cornell. And even though he's a Yankee fan, check it out. But yeah, we can move on to news and notes here. We got a lot to talk about here. Speaking of just a lot on the agenda, I guess we'll start out with probably the first time in my life I have felt bad for somebody who has made $170 million. I'm talking about Joe Burrow. He is the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. And in addition to getting his house broken into, in addition to having his appendix removed in training camp a few years ago, multiple season-ending injuries, the turf toe last year that knocked him around for, 10 weeks. The fact that he has nobody that can block for him, nor a defense that will play any sort of actual ball for the Bengals. He now has to deal with, of course, T.J. Watt for two games a year. He has to deal with the speed racer Myles Garrett 2 games a year. And now it's Maxx Crosby. And I know you guys talked about this on primetime. I'm sure it has come up throughout the week on this network many, many times. But we are now dealing with a new situation in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens, by the way, for the first time in their team's history, gave up their first-round pick for a player. They gave up 2 first rounds for Maxx Crosby. They have drafted 3 Hall of Famers in the first round. So that's how little this happens. But you got an all-world defensive end now playing in the AFC North, along with 2 other all-world defensive ends. If you're Joe Burrow, you're probably hating life. Do you even try? You just ask for a trade. You just try to get out of here. And then if you're the Browns and the Steelers, how does that really impact the way you're looking at this offseason?
Double A.
Yeah, that boy got to get out of there, man. Can we play the DeMar Chase video?
Yeah.
Because, we're all reacting. I think he was on Twitch or something. And, man, ain't nobody having a worse offseason than the Bengals, man.
And by the way, keep in mind, Jamar Chase is someone who will never actually have to make physical contact with Maxx Crosby, with T.J. Watt, with Myles Garrett. He is going to be 10 yards away from any sort of trauma that will be happening.
By the way, real quick before we play this, there is several inappropriate words that is said in this 41 seconds.
I probably said them too when I found out about this trade.
This is a podcast network. We ain't got to bleep any of it. Go ahead.
Joe just fucking texted me. Ravens traded for Maxx Crosby. No fucking shit. No fucking shit. No fucking shit, brother. I'm fucking highly pissed right now. Oh my god. Oh my god. Fucking. How the fuck do we let this nigga go to the fucking division, bro? Oh my god, bro. Why the fuck did we let this nigga go to the division, bro? Oh my god.
Well, I'm sure given Maxx Crosby's ethnicity, I don't know if I would have used that word to describe him. Nonetheless, I didn't use that word, but I used pretty much every other word. I found out that now we have a third Hall of Fame defensive end in the goddamn division. This is going to be wonderful.
Well, I just love that Jamar Chase kept saying, "Why did we let him go to the division? Why, like the Bengals could have vetoed the trade?" Like,
yeah, that's kind of funny too. Like Mike Brown, he thinks can just come in and be like, "No."
Yeah. Poor Joe Burrow. Maxx Crosby, Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt. I mean, just paying 6 times out of 17 games a year. I mean, that's not right. I mean, yeah. The guy was so sad last year. I mean, he was talking about not having fun playing football anymore. And that was before Maxx Crosby entered the division. And this is before Baltimore. This is when Baltimore had a bad defensive year. And now they have Jesse Minter there, a defensive-minded head coach. They got Maxx Crosby in his prime. This isn't good. For the Browns, Steelers, and Ravens, for the Browns and Steelers, for the Browns, they have their own issues to figure out right now. Maxx Crosby should be the last thing they're worrying about. Right now, they have to figure out about who the quarterback is going to be.
The Browns are trying to build their own house right now, but Baltimore just acquired an F5 tornado that's going to knock the whole goddamn thing down.
Well, here's the thing. We have a quarterback battle here in Cleveland, and we're going to figure out by the end of the offseason who our starting quarterback. No, all joking aside, hopefully it's Shador. But Yeah, at the end of the day, this isn't good for the division. When I saw this news, Rozycki, I know you sent us, you texted in the group chat, and you sent that to me, and I want you to know, you ruined my evening. I want you to know. I was sitting there watching the World Baseball Classic with Papa Moon. I was sitting there enjoying Team USA versus Team Brazil. Great game. Great game. And this comes across my radar. Mm-hmm. And night ruined. Night ruined. So I just thank you, and I want you to know I was having a great evening.
Blame Steve Bisciotti on that one, man, or blame Mark Davis or Tom Brady on that. Like, man,
yes,
I'm
Tom
really
Brady's
the messenger in this whole situation.
That's fair. That's
it's
fair.
Tom Brady's fault. Cleveland. Yes, it's Tom Brady's fault. Screw him.
I think if we spend enough time, we could probably pin the war in Iran on him. But yeah, we'll save that for a later date.
I mean, Cleveland's going to have problems, and Pittsburgh's going to have problems. But they only
don't have an offensive line.
I know.
You might be able to get a couple sacks against them right now.
I get it. I understand. The way I look at the Brown situation right now, though, Rob, what's the difference between a D- and an F?
Graduation.
Not on the curve. I mean, would they get a curve? Can you get a curve to go to the playoffs?
I remember our line from my undergraduate run at IUP. D means diploma, baby.
I mean, in this league, either if you get a B, you go to the playoffs. If you fail, you get a top pick in the draft. There's no in between. It's the reason why in the NBA there's like a 45-game losing streak between the bottom 10 teams in the league.
My question with this Crosby thing, though, is like, does this change your opinion on the Ravens? I mean,
yes,
yeah, their defense is a whole lot better, but Lamar Jackson still can't play in the playoffs.
No, I mean, Rozycki, I don't know. I think we got to give Lamar a little bit of credit. I think that defense was terrible last year. I think last year was a wash. I don't think you're going to really – that was the end of an era. They got rid of Harbaugh. I do think this changes the Ravens. This gives a guy that they can have a cornerstone of their defense, along with Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton's a dog, but now they have a guy on the front line there, defensive end, and Maxx Crosby, and they have Kyle Hamilton there in the secondary. They have guys that can make a difference. And the Ravens are typically really, really a pain in the ass when their defense has guys that are notable. Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, Haloti Ngata, those guys on the defense, back in the 2000s. Now you look at this with Kyle Hamilton, Maxx Crosby, some of these guys that they have there. It's going to be interesting to see what Jesse Minter does, but he's a defensive-minded coach. The Ravens are getting back to the basics and what has worked for them, what has won them a Super Bowl before in the past, actually both times. I know Joe Flacco had a great run with the Ravens, but Ray Lewis and those guys played pretty good defensively too that year. Yeah, I think this does change the Ravens, and I think Lamar is feeling energized. I mean, you guys, they just went out and this is the first time, mind you, in the Ravens franchise history, they've used a first-round pick to trade for a player.
That's what I said that. Yeah, that's
maybe I meant
multiple ones too, and that was the odd thing too. It was 2 ones that ended up doing it.
Yeah. So that's if that doesn't hype up Lamar Jackson, I don't know what else would. I mean, your team just went out and did something they haven't done in franchise history.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore definitely became a better team, and you got to survive to win the AFC North, and you need pass rushers to stop. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Drake May and some of the other top contenders in the AFC. So that part's huge. I am very, very worried about Joe Burrow, and that's why I texted you guys. This man, tomorrow morning, should demand a trade immediately.
Dude's made $170 million, and I feel like we need to give him a wellness check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dude was...
Ain't no way he's going to make it through the season. 6 games?
He wasn't even... It hasn't even been 6 years since he's been in the Super Bowl, and we're feeling bad for Joe Burrow. That's sad. That's sad.
He's the only AFC quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
And we're asking...
I think that's still the superlative that he has. And
correct.
Yeah. And he's... and it seems like every year that we're all saying if Joe Burrow's Joe Burrow, the Bengals should be fine, and then Joe Burrow gets hurt, and then we're all wandering around. The Bengals are the third place team in the AFC North again. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully the Browns, when all of the alpha, apex predators are fighting up here, the Browns are just going to be scurrying, on the forest floor, trying to just stay out of it and doing their own thing. But yeah, I mean, the AFC's definitely changed around. I think Kansas City is now going to have something to be worried about when they get healthy again, and especially New England, man. I don't know. Their odds of repeating as AFC champs, I think, gone down considerably in the last 48 hours or so. So yeah, I mean, this is by far the biggest move of the offseason so far.
And screw me, I forgot to mention Bo Nix in that conversation as well. That you got to get past, in the AFC. So you do need those. I don't think we're going to have time, but I do have a trade proposal in mind if Joe Burrow stormed into the Bengals office and said, I want out. I do have because remember, he has.
They could trade him to Cincinnati or to LA or the Raiders for a couple of firsts. And that's what they did with Carson Palmer in this situation.
Because remember, this is Joe Burrow we're talking about. So wherever he goes, obviously he's starting. Obviously, he would be starting, but you got his contract you got to worry about. There's a couple of places I think he could go to and make this a little bit interesting, a more interesting free agency period. If you're Joe Burrow, that you could explore. One of them I have in mind is Houston. Houston has a little bit of experience with acquiring assets for, dishing off a quarterback. So this would be kind of reverse. In fact, you could think a certain team from Cleveland, Ohio that gave them those assets that would be available. So.
What team is that, AA?
That would be the world famous Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
So I'll give credit here. Heavy.com, they proposed here. The Texans would get Joe Burrow. The Bengals would get C.J. Stroud, who's entering his fourth year. They're going to have to make a choice on what you do with the fifth year and all that.
And we all know the Bengals are really good at contract extensions, so that'll work well.
Yeah, ask Trey Hendrickson.
Right. And then also include the 2026 first-round pick, 2027 first-round pick, and also 2026 third-round pick. I know that would be a little bit, again, out of the box, but something could be – I'll just say this. Something could be done across the NFL if Joe Burrow demanded out of Cincinnati.
I feel like I should throw some numbers up here. If he is traded before June 1, it is a $57 million cap hit to the Bengals. If he is traded after June 1, $21 million dead cap this year, and then the extra 36 to get to that 57 number would be happening in 27. So I think Mike Brown would actually be kind of okay with that because dead cap money is money that you're not paying to anybody. It's just money that counts against the cap. You're not actually cutting a check, and we all know how much Mike Brown does not like to cut checks.
Yeah. Doesn't like to pay an offensive line. That's the kill your generational quarterback. So
and that's the whole thing too. Is that, and I don't think anything will happen this offseason with Burrow. I mean, give it another year. But if they end up having to trade Joe Burrow, I mean, this in a league where the quarterback is the cheat code, the quarterback is the key that unlocks everything. And the quarterback in general should be able to make you competitive. The fact that they have been marring around in this bottom half of the AFC for pretty much most of Joe Burrow's career, we're talking at least the last 3 years now, that I think shows just how inept the Cincinnati Bengals are. You throw in Trey Hendrickson on top of that. You throw in 20 years of prior incidents. I think we're showing right now that Mike Brown, even though the Bengals have not been the worst in the league, Mike Brown is still probably the worst owner in the NFL.
Unreal.
Yeah.
They have nobody else to blame but themselves.
Well, from one bad organization to another one, there was some more NFL news being made. Actually, in the last 36 hours or so, we find out that Taylor Swift's boyfriend wants to play football again. Travis Kelce has announced, or it has come out, that he will be pursuing his 14th season in the NFL. I think that's where he's up to. Now, it's assumed that it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, but it hasn't guaranteed. There is that little open door for Kelce to go to another championship contender, or maybe even say his hometown team. So, what do we think about Travis Kelce potentially being a completely free agent, at least professionally speaking? We all know he's spoken for romantically.
Yeah.
That's been locked up for years.
I think he dang double A. That's funny. I think Travis Kelce's a Chief, man. I mean, it's cool that he's coming back. I like the Cleveland Heights guy. It's cool to see the success, but I don't think he's coming here. I don't think he's going anywhere else. He's going to be playing with Kansas City, finishing out his career, one team. And, we might be talking about Tyreek Hill joining here. I thought Tyreek Hill might be going to Buffalo, or maybe another team to keep an eye out for. There's a few AFC teams to keep an eye out for. Buffalo being one of them. Maybe not anymore, but Baltimore too now. I mean, Baltimore making some big moves. But I think you're going to see a Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce reunion with Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City, all of them back together. That's I think what we're getting here.
If that happens, that would be scary. I think me personally, I think either he stays at KC or comes home here. Now, I think what's interesting with Travis. So on his podcast, y'all throughout last season, when he referenced the team, he referenced the Chiefs and everything like that, he always used, we in language, talking about last year's team. Excuse me. Anytime they talked about the future, 2026 and beyond, he never named, he never said we. It was always the Chiefs could do this, the Chiefs could do that. So I think there is a price that he is going to be asking for to return to Kansas City. With that being said, I do believe if you want a homecoming story that he would want to be a part of, it might be here. And even from a football standpoint, it actually would make sense because if,
I don't think it would.
Well, from a football-only standpoint, because you're replacing David Njoku, who's not here. So you still would have a 1-2 punch at tight end. Even with Kansas City,
I'm not sure.
Kansas City is like 2 or 3 tight ends deep. So it would be the same thing. You don't need Travis Kelce in an every down type situation. And actually, Harold Fanning can still be your number one tight end, 1A or 1B tight end, and you can still use Travis Kelce as another passing option that defenses have to defend.
I think one of the reasons why they had a lot of tight ends in Kansas City the last couple of years is because Kelce can't do much right now. He's very limited as a 35-year-old veteran in the league. And, that's where I say it doesn't make a lot of sense from the football standpoint because, and I'm not trying to, disparage anything about Travis. He's been a hell of a player, but at this stage of his career, I think he knows how to get open for Patrick Mahomes and not much else. It's the veteran QB and the veteran tight end that have this bond together that know, they know where the other one's going to be. They know where the ball is going to be. And Travis is very good at getting that 8 to 12 yard catch to move the sticks. And that was primarily his role. I don't know if that is going to be as effective if a Shedeur Sanders is throwing him the ball. If even a Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, whatever. I think if he goes anywhere, and I think the clubhouse favorite, the Chiefs, is probably where he's going to go or stay. But if it's anywhere, I see a team like the Rams, where you do have that veteran quarterback out there. Matt Stafford has seen about as much as Travis Kelce has in the NFL. Get some of these older, more established, quarterbacks to be able to kind of, be that feeder system that Mahomes was, because I don't think a younger quarterback's going to do it. Now, would it be a great story if Travis came back and was a second or third string tight end? Absolutely. Would it be, interesting to see what Cleveland would do with Taylor Swift here for a few home dates a year. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I just don't know how much he would be helping on the football side of things.
Double A brings up Rob, but Double A brings up a good point. My final point on this is that, the Browns brought in Danny Breyer as their pass game coordinator. He worked with the Baltimore Ravens tight ends exclusively, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. And the Ravens liked using a lot of 2 tight end sets. You saw a lot of Andrews and Likely, a lot of both tight ends being rotated. So, I mean, even if it isn't Kelsey, the Browns have to bring in another tight end. They're going to bring in another tight end, and it's not going to just be a depth guy. It's going to be somebody that they view that can make an impact and may be able to get 700-800 yards of receiving for this team. And that's where Kelsey does fall into, technically. I mean, yeah, he's dropped off in terms of, he's not getting over 1,000 yards, nowhere near his 2022 season of 1,338 receiving yards, 12 touchdowns. He had 851 receiving yards, caught 76 passes, and got 5 touchdowns last year. And that was with a wonky season. So I think, to Double A's point, and with the Browns bringing in Danny Breyer and putting him in a higher position, a pass game coordinator, which, hey, look at what pass game coordinators, they all get interviewed for head coaching gigs pretty soon. So we'll see what happens with Danny Breyer. That's something to keep an eye on.
My final point on this is solely going to depend on what Travis Kelce wants for what I believe will be his final season in the NFL, or final 2 years in the NFL. Does he want to stay at a familiar place in Kansas City, an organization that he knows, an organization where he thrives, an organization where he's won multiple championships and one of the greatest Chiefs of all time? Or is something happening in Kansas City where he wants out unless they pay him a crazy amount of money? And if the second thing is true, then to me, it's Cleveland versus I saw a report that it could be the Giants. New York City exposure. I'm not going to eliminate that.
Well, with the Rams, you have that thing too with LA. I mean, a lot of studio executives sitting there too. That's why LeBron's a Laker.
Yeah, so I think the running, if I had to give teams, right, I think it's the Chiefs if it's the right price. If the Chiefs bulk out of that, though, Cleveland, Giants, and I'll put the Rams in that category too, because I don't know how much does he value winning another title.
Yeah, because that's the thing is normally in this situation, an older player would be chasing rings. He's got enough rings. So yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure what you're talking. What he'd be looking for there.
Like, does he want to? Because now we're in like LeBron James territory in terms of what does he want professionally beyond football? Like, does he want the best chance to win a title? Does he want to be around the entertainment scene on a more full-time basis? Or does he desire to play at home in front of family?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
I know his mom lives in Florida now, so I mean, it's not even like I understand this is where he grew up and this is where he went and everything, but I don't know how much family's still technically around here. Who knows? But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We're in news and notes. We got about 15 minutes or so left of this extravaganza. Let's see here. We already went over our obligatory football talk. I can't seem to find my spectacles here. That is becoming a problem in my old age. But yes, we have Crosby trade. We got the Cardinals. Yeah, that was something I wanted to mention to you guys too. Have you been paying attention to anything going on with some of these ticket specials in Major League Baseball or anything along that line? The Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals, have popped up in some news here. And Double A, I think he's smiling because he knows what I'm going to bring up here.
Yes.
They have what they call now all-inclusive tickets. And according to the website here on the St. Louis Cardinals, MLB.com/Cardinals, leave your wallet at home. All-inclusive tickets will feature a full buffet, complimentary bar service, and a great view of the game. With a wide variety of clubs and picnic areas to choose from, the Cardinals have options for every budget. I'm hearing some of these tickets are actually as low as like under $50 here. How would you gentlemen feel if the Guardians looked at you and said, extra $30 on the ticket, you get access to a buffet and an open bar, and you just get to chill out the entire time?
I don't know. So I'm going to be the Debbie Downer because I don't drink. So I mean, I don't know how much the open bar. The food, but $30 extra. I mean, what kind of
I just
food?
made up a number there. Just
Okay. All right. Sorry, Rozycki. I mean, the time we just talked about how much gas prices were last segment, so things are tough. Okay. But with that being said, I think it's interesting, and I think that's cool that they're getting unique with it for the Cardinals. And I mean, depending what the price would be to up it, I think this is cool to be inclusive for the fans. When I covered the Monsters, I always thought it was cool that the Monsters had their VIP section where people could go get their drinks and their lounge, their little buffet section and stuff. So I just think that's cool when teams incorporate that, make it easier. Because I mean, ballpark food is expensive, man. And that's. I learned to hack though.
More on this. This is a Google AI, so this is kind of a quick deal. The Cardinals have introduced all-inclusive tickets for 2026 that will feature options like new Coca-Cola Unlimited, starting at $29 for unlimited food and drink. Don't worry. Premium seats with full bar service starting around $59 for select games. So I mean, $60 is that's less than a box seat in Progressive Field.
Yeah, it's not bad. I'd do it for $30. You get the ticket and you get all your food and drink. Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Double A, we're going to St. Louis. Rob, get ready, fellas.
I'm just gonna show you real quick.
Bye, Rob. All right, there he's back.
Look at all that.
Dang, bro.
And yes, if you're listening to us, we're talking about fountain drinks, bratwurst, nachos, French fries, popcorn, peanuts, ice cream, potato chips, chicken nuggies. Yes, all sorts of great things. Yeah. So basically,
St. Louis.
What this would help out with. Have you ever heard of the 999 challenge?
Yes.
The 9 beers, 9 dogs, and 9 innings. All of a sudden, it's not going to cost you a semester's worth of tuition. So at least you might have that going for you. But yeah, I mean, what would you rather? Is it any different though? Like, how much money would it cost extra? If you got a $29 ticket for a Cardinals game with all this unlimited stuff, compared to a $1 dog night. I mean, I can drop $7 on a $1 dog night and almost have a stroke with all the sodium in my system.
You could. I was trying to do the math and stuff like that. I'll just say this, Rob. There are 6 other days. You don't want to listen. This is the greatest promotion of all time.
Bro, those are just potato chips too, Rob. You can't disrespect that. That is kettle chips.
Okay,
Rob.
see, we had the ticker going across that little part, so I couldn't exactly read it. But okay,
kettle. Those double A. I mean,
cups, dude? Oh my lord.
Ice cream cups, dude. All I'm saying is, this is a good deal. I like a good deal. This is a good deal.
I'm gonna just say this too. I've been to Busch Stadium in St. Louis. One of my favorite ballparks. I haven't been to that many ballparks, but one of my favorites. So you're gonna get a great view regardless. For me, who loves food, in fact, my entire existence is based on tasting of food, I might not even pay attention to the game. I mean, that's good. It's enough for me.
Yeah, and this is kind of the trend of we're selling you everything but the game, and I think people are learning some stuff from the Savannah Bananas. Their founder was saying we can't control how good the pitcher's going to look that day, or what the infield defense is going to be, or what the offense is going to. What we can control is fan experience, and in this situation, and the Cardinals have not had in a baseball city that's used to a lot of good ball. They've had a couple of down years, so I'm sure they're kind of looking for anything to get anybody in. Real quick, though, do you know why it's called Busch Stadium?
The beer?
No. Well, it has a little bit to do with it. back in the day when the Bush family bought the Cardinals, they were the guys who owned Anheuser-Busch owned the Cardinals for a while. They wanted to name the stadium back before alcohol was a huge thing in sports, advertising wise. They wanted to name it Budweiser Stadium. And the Major League Baseball said no. So what they did was they named it after the family, Bush Stadium. With this in mind, a year later, Bush and Busch Light debut on the shelves. So now their stadium is named after a beer. And that was why they called it Busch Stadium, because Budweiser was a little bit too on the nose for Major League Baseball.
And
That's crazy.
The name branding is so recognizable. I believe this is the third or fourth Busch Stadium.
I think it's the second one. It's the second one. Old Busch Stadium was around 50.
That's right.
Yeah. That was Jack Buck, and I can't believe what I just saw and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
But we might have to make a road trip down to St. Louis because
that's cool with me.
Even
St. Louis is a phenomenal city.
If we get the right tickets, I think we could probably spend less money. Well, depending on what gas prices are, spending less money to go down to the Cardinals game with all the free food as opposed to like a club seat in Cleveland with all the amenities and stuff.
Bruh, if these gas prices don't go down, I won't even be able to make it to Berea, Ohio, man. Man.
These gas prices are making me very thankful we do this, through StreamYard and all these. Because if all of us had to worry about locating the Parma right now, I think we'd be investing a little bit more money.
You don't understand. Eli, Rob, no. Dude, it was the gas station I went to last week, it was $2.59. That exact same gas station and everywhere, $3.49.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was $3.54 over here in Parma today. Crazy.
I'm just trying to figure out, anytime we fight a war for oil, the oil prices go up. But it is, because last I saw, I think the futures are now at 108 a barrel. So, and that's the first time in, I think, since the pandemic-ish that we're talking about gas prices that high. So,
can we get a bargain deal on gas prices?
$29 you fill your tank the entire month.
Yeah, it's called a Schwinn. It's just go around like Fred Flintstone at this rate here.
Hey, man. You'll start moving your car barefooted like the Flintstones.
Pretty much, at this rate. I mean, that's cheaper. We do have one more little bit of news and notes here on the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki. And I think we should all throw out our congratulations to the Red Hawks of Miami. The other Miami. The real Miami of Ohio. We're not talking about Hurricanes football or anything like that. Nope. Miami, they concluded their regular season just 2 days ago. They are 31-0, the first team since Gonzaga about 10 years ago to finish a regular season in college undefeated. And unlike Gonzaga, they still actually have to play a few more games to make sure they get in the tournament. We can talk about Bruce Pearl and his Nepo baby kid who's coaching Auburn right now, kind of throwing a salt here at the Miami athletic director. Or we can talk about the stone cold salute that they were giving the Ohio U student section after the game.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, we had a lot of stuff that's happening out of Miami here, and not a whole lot had to do with the actual result of the game.
Oh, that was so great, Eli.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was good, and I'll tell you this: I looked on, just taking a look at who the favorite would be for the MAC tournament. It is Akron; they are the favorite, and it's crazy to think that Miami still might not get into the tournament. 31-0, and we could be talking about 32-1, 3-1, and they don't get in, and that's just so mind blowing to me. Like 68 teams get in. And Miami might not have a slot just because of their strength of schedule. And I don't typically agree with Stephen A. Smith on a ton of things, but he said this on First Take basically about, a team that's undefeated should have a spot. We've said this before already on Main Event, but, he agrees with us, I guess, where a team that's undefeated should get in regardless of strength of schedule or anything like that. So hopefully Miami just takes care of business this upcoming week, coming up in Cleveland, because I believe, the tourney is this week. So, hopefully they take care of business, and they're getting They're finding out who they're playing Selection Sunday rather than if they're playing in the tournament on Selection Sunday.
I figured this out. Miami of Ohio is the Notre Dame of college basketball.
Okay.
You have a committee praying to God that this works out in a way that either Miami's all the way in or all the way out. Because if they're on the bubble, you're going to have to make a decision. And they don't want to make a decision. We saw what happened with Notre Dame and the fallout from that decision. This is what they are praying in Indianapolis, wherever this committee is meeting. They are praying that Miami just blows through this MAC tournament, and this isn't even a discussion. Because the last thing I think they want right now is Miami to force their hand.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
And
go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say the preposterous thing is, too, we were talking about a 68-team tournament where a one-loss team in college basketball would not get into that tournament.
Yeah.
Now imagine what would happen in the 14-team football playoff if a one-loss team didn't go. The fact that we have 6 times more teams in this tournament, you have room for a 0-loss, for a 1-loss Miami. I'm sorry. We can have, Auburn sit down for a year. We can have, whatever bottom, Ohio State sit out for a year with, bottom level Big Ten.
Indiana.
Miami's
Indiana. Ohio State's going to the tournament. Indiana.
Yeah, Ohio State put belt the ass today.
Okay, they have played their way in.
Yeah, they put belt the ass today.
Indiana's not getting it.
How was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or today, but yeah, they beat the heck out of Indiana.
Yeah. Let me show you all the bracket. And this is the full screen bracket. Listen.
Oh.
Look at that top left. Miami should. If they don't beat UMass, then we got bigger problems. You see the matchup underneath?
Yeah,
we take care of business.
Bowling Green and Toledo. Yes.
Yeah, once we take care of business, it'll be interesting on Friday. Miami and Bowling Green.
Are you nervous about playing Toledo? Kyle Cornell, Toledo.
I ain't nervous.
The Rockets, Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast could be a little interesting this weekend. Maybe you don't, maybe it's Toledo that's playing Miami.
I'm not nervous at all.
Okay.
We go handle business. It's Toledo. We're going to handle business. We're going to do what we do. All right.
By the way, that bracket reminded me of another story, too. Congratulations. Shout out to UMass. They had a home and home in football scheduled with Hawaii. That is a 5,000-mile flight. That would have been direct flight, a little over 19 hours with layover, literally over a day. And they canceled that home and home. And I think we're all, as college football and sports fans, going to benefit from that.
Yeah.
So I'll just say this. When Bowling Green beats Miami. All right, I'm just messing with you guys. The real story is this. Really, all Miami needs to do, get to the final. Because Akron is a tough team. If they get to the final, they're in. But the thing that does work, they had to finish undefeated in the regular season. So Ohio almost ruined that. They did it. Miami took care of business there. But I'll say this: the biggest story in college basketball is going to be right here in Cleveland with the MAC tournament. And if you have a way to buy a ticket to get to the MAC tournament, I'm trying my darndest to get to Rocket Arena this week to watch some of these games. This is not lip service just to promote the Mid-American Conference. Legitimately, the story of March Madness is here in Cleveland. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch all of this play out. And even from a Cleveland standpoint, I'll show you the bracket one more time. If we can remove, So if you see the bottom here, of course, the city of Cleveland will be happy if Akron and Kent State is in the other semifinal. Like, imagine if your two semifinals is Miami versus BG or Toledo. It'll still be a great turnout. And then the second game, Akron versus Kent State. Two schools who hate each other, but they always travel well in the MAC tournament. Like, this is going to be a moneymaker for the city of Cleveland.
Yeah, and I'll be downtown tomorrow and Tuesday. I'm sure I'll be able to see that firsthand. And, yeah, I think having Miami, I think even for business in Cleveland, keep winning is probably going to – you want Miami to be there as many days as possible and the national circus to be in Cleveland for as long as possible with that kind of stuff. Yeah. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have just passed our hard out time about 60 seconds ago. And that means it should be about time to wrap this thing up. We'll go over what we have learned in the last 7 days, gentlemen. Does anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. What I learned this weekend is that just take time to do the little things that you don't get to do very often. What I mean by that is, like, me and Pops. So Papa Moon, we do obviously Real Talk with Papa Moon. Shout out Papa Moon, Saturdays 5 p.m. And we do that, but then a lot of times I'm on the go, he's on the go. You know, we may talk for like 10 minutes here or there, but literally this weekend I took a lot of time to like talk to my dad, which I know sounds silly maybe to some people, but like I took time to like actually just sit there for 3, 4, 5 hours, just converse about from the 1995 Cleveland Indians to where we think we're going to be in June, to Moon Bash in July, and what we're working on with that at Brothers Lounge this year, which is exciting, super exciting. But just talking about so much stuff. And you know, we went out and did stuff that I wouldn't typically do, like just going to the store. I hate going to the grocery store. I hate it. And somebody could tell me we're going on a quick trip, and it could be 10 minutes, and that is 10 minutes too long in the store. I don't like it, but I took time to enjoy the things that I guess I typically wouldn't do. You know, went out with my pops and my aunt. We drove around, went to different stores, went and took care of things. And I just took time to smell the roses, man. And I got a busy stretch coming up here. We all do. I'll be in Texas, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, March 20th, Thriller in Texas Festival with my guy Cliche from Ohio. We're going to have Texas artists out there. Just a great lineup, and then I'm, got a ton of other stuff coming up here. But I just wanted to take time this weekend before it starts getting busy to breathe and really just chat with my pops. I really enjoyed getting to catch up with him. So that's what I learned this weekend is take time to appreciate the people in your life and the things in your life that you get to do, because one day we're going to all look back and we're going to be 75, 78 years old, and we're going to be like, why didn't I appreciate this when I was this age? And that's what I learned this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I will unless Rob, you want to go next.
Yeah, I'll go. We'll switch up the order here a little bit. One of the things I actually had in my news and notes that got bumped because of White House and trades and Cavs losses and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have heard about the plight of Jerkson Profar. Sorry, it took 3 times to get that name out. Profar is a shortstop for the Atlanta Braves. Last year, he was suspended for PED use. First-time offender is 82 games. Well, he decided to celebrate that this season by getting popped again. And now he is looking at 162 games. And the third strike will mean he gets to go home for the rest of his life. Lifetime ban. Now, as great, I think, as that zero tolerance situation is, what I learned is that he's still going to make some money out of this. What? Now, he forfeited about $5.8 million in salary with his suspension last year, half his money. He's going to forfeit $12 million this year, his whole check. But he is still on the hook for $20 million next year in Atlanta. And despite the fact he has been suspended twice for PED use, every nickel, unless he were to test positive for a third time or, have legal issues or whatever here, that money is guaranteed. They cannot cut him. They cannot look to get any of the money back. He is still going to get paid in 2027. And that's because, and I shit you not, when they were talking about the fallout for PED suspensions, and this has happened in other sports too, you can't void a contract for a PED suspension because there is a possibility that the team doctor could go up to the first baseman who's hitting like shit for 2 years, put a little something in his drink, and then test him positive for PED use, and you can void the contract. Yes, they are really thinking that it gets that Shakespearean in an NFL locker room or an MLB locker room. But as long as you can't void contracts for this kind of shit, look at Shohei Ohtani. We'll use him as an example. He could test positive 2 straight years for PEDs, and none of that money is going to go away. He'll lose the $2 million this year. He'll lose a half that for the half season he's gone. He'll lose $3 million. All of that money cannot go anywhere. So as long as you still have that money out there, you're going to have guys that will cheat and do whatever they need to, because Profar, yeah, he got suspended last season. He'll get suspended this season. Last year of his contract is the most money he'll ever make in his career. And all he has to do, show up, be Anthony Rendon for a few weeks, fake a back injury, get the hell out of there, and he's made his money. So you need to be able to take that away, that future away, if you are really serious about performance-enhancing drugs. And luckily enough, in about 8 months, they're going to have a chance to talk about all this with the labor contract. So this should come up, because I don't think this is right. I mean, yeah, he lost $17 million or whatever it is. He's still going to make more than half of that contract, even though he's going to miss more than half the time because of PED suspension.
Yeah, they'll have a whole year to talk about that when they're locked out. That story is nuts. And I didn't even know all the financial ramifications for that. When I saw that come across the timeline, I'm like,
oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, he just, I would call him an idiot, but he's sitting there going, dude, I can test positive twice. I'll still get the third year of the contract, whatever. But that's still pretty freaking stupid.
Unbelievable. All right, Eli, do you have thoughts on that before I go?
Chad is a Braves fan, and he let it be known on primetime. I'll defer to our primetime episode earlier this past week for Chad's thoughts on Jerks and Profar. He was not
him when he gets pissy about that and say, hey, at least he wasn't betting on games and spiking curveballs. You'll be okay.
I will let him know that tomorrow on primetime at 10 p.m.
Could be worse.
Yep, 10 p.m. Inside Edge Network here. Make sure you give us a follow, Inside Edge Net. Followed by Midnight Run with Anthony Alford at midnight tomorrow. And with that being said, Double A, what did you learn this weekend?
Man, listen, so one of the top stories that we've been covering on Midnight Run has been this ridiculous battle of the CEOs with fast food and burgers. I mean, my goodness. I mean, the McDonald's CEO puts out a video like a month ago. Nobody knew, unless you follow him, like Chris K. If you followed him, he put out a video of his new sandwich. I think it's the Big Arch.
Yep.
And they're not a sponsor of this network, so I don't need to describe the sandwich. But it's the burger, what they have. And then Burger King followed, and then Wendy's followed. And then other various restaurants followed. In fact, somebody posted and said, man, if Five Guys can figure out how to post a burger that's not worth $20, maybe we can figure something out. So I figured on this show, I'll do the same thing. So for my demonstration, I have here unsponsored bread. So we have that. Give me a second. Stand by. Precious television time.
See, Double A has done really well with the pre-planning on this.
Yeah, didn't even have the bread open.
I mean, in all fairness, we've only had about 3.5 hours of the show to get to get our ducks in an order.
I thought about walking off during your other guys' segments, but I'm like, man, that would be disrespectful. I don't want to do that. So we got that. Let me go to my backup studio here real quick. Give me a second here. Hold up.
So how you doing, Eli?
I'm doing great, Rob. I'm doing great.
It's,
I'm wondering where
I'm here at 20 after 12 and waiting for Double A to get some bread.
Peanut butter.
What is it, creamy or is it crunchy?
Creamy.
Okay.
Creamy.
Okay.
I know real men like it crunchy. Pause. But listen, all you need is a knife, and I can't find a knife. So this product right here, this product is called peanut butter. And what you do with said peanut butter, you get this, and you put it on said bread.
Oh, wow.
Or some people will call it product.
Double A, if you just learned this, man, I feel bad.
Some will call this product. Put this on here. Smooth. Sorry, I'm supposed to show it to the camera. Smooth. Smooth product. All right? And then you put the other bread on here. No jelly. No jelly.
Oh, no jelly?
No jelly. No jelly.
Okay.
Just peanut butter. And because I'm a grown man, I keep the crust on the outside.
That was such a baby bite, bro.
Hold up. I like this sandwich. You want a real bite?
Oh my god.
That's an angry bite, aggressive bite. This is a great product right here. Great product. And when you have a great product, you need to tell people about it. So that's what I learned this week. It doesn't matter how bad you look. It doesn't matter if you have food in your mouth. It doesn't matter. Eat your sandwiches and be rich and be a CEO.
All right, back to you, Rob.
Okay. All right. We got Double A finishing up with literally peanut butter in his mouth because that's, yeah.
All kidding aside, though, real quick, the McDonald's guy, Chris K, is the only smart one here. The rest of these guys just look like rich people out of their element, out of their environment, trying to consume stuff that they don't know.
Oh, you mean like, the crowd at the Super Bowl?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's one thing if one person is doing it, but everybody else is copycatting trends and stuff. That's not good business. That's just not good business at all. So,
all as well, we do have a little bit of breaking news at the tail end of the show here this past about a couple hours ago here through ESPN. The Rams, who have just traded for corner Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs. He is going to be a Ram for a while longer. He has just agreed to a 4-year, $124 million contract. That's $31 a year, $100 million of that guaranteed. And now the 25-year-old is the highest paid corner in NFL history. So teams, of course, can keep their players and re-sign them. We've seen that happen with Khalil Mack and, in Los Angeles with the Chargers, a few other guys around the league. But, add Trent McDuffie onto the list of guys who are going to be with their team for a while.
do you guys expect any, major – I know we talked about Mike Evans on this show, but, I don't know what would be considered major splashes with free agency, but we'll see. I mean, no one's talking about Seattle in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact that they won the championship.
Yeah, that's pretty low drama up there. If they've, that's no problem.
But they're letting Kenneth Walker walk. That's crazy.
Oh
I
God,
think.
Find another running back.
I think it's crazier. I think it'll be crazy when we talk about it in September and October. I think Charbonnet is going to be very important to see what they do at running back. But besides that, Double A. Man, Mike Evans is a Cleveland Brown. Sign me up. That's all I'll say.
We'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see where the quarterbacks are going to go. If it is Malik Willis, if it's Daniel Jones, anybody like that. I want to. The trade market too is, obviously we had one domino fall with Crosby. McDuffie was another one. I want to see if there's any player that's not expecting to get traded, who might get shipped off and might, all of a sudden find a new home and find the right compensation. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I also want to see where Trey Hendrickson ends up, too. I know Cincinnati, had a pass rusher that could handle, on the same level as Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt and Maxx Crosby, but, they just didn't want to pay him.
Oh, one last question. I know we're done. We're over. Rob, I think I know Eli's thoughts already. Myles Garrett, are they going to finally take his license? What are they doing? What are they doing? All the speeding tickets and stuff. And
I'm not mad anymore. And we've done the whole sports talk righteous indignation about, oh my God, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be going 100 miles an hour. I think that's pretty universally agreed on. That being said, he is an adult human being. He is a grown-up. He can make his own decisions. He has been busted 9 times now. By the way, any one of the 3 of us have 9 speeding tickets, we're going to prison. That might be the most irritated I am about the whole thing. But that being said, and I hate to sound callous about it, I'm treating Myles now like a base jumper or, somebody else who does high-risk activity for a living. If something bad happens, if you have a career-ending injury because of an accident, if, God forbid, something else worse happens than that, can I feel real bad for you? Do I have the empathy in my heart to be, oh, my God, is this such a tragedy? Bro, you're going 100 miles an hour. And in the words of one of my favorite TV hosts, Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear, speed doesn't kill you. Stopping suddenly does. And one of these days, I don't know, is he going to get unlucky? Is he going to have, a mistake, that he makes behind the wheel? Who knows? That's why you don't typically go 100 miles an hour. But you know what? He's going to go. He's going to do what he does. And Myles is going to be Myles. He's 30 years old. He's a defensive end. He's indestructible. There is literally no way that he can be harmed in a motor vehicle accident because he's Myles Garrett, and he is the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. And you know what? More power to him.
And he's always rushing.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Can the Browns say something to him? Can the coaching staff? Can his girlfriend say something to him about this crap? I think she would be pretty invested if he wrapped his shit around around a telephone pole. Does anybody remember who Gabriel Rivera was?
Nah, I forgot.
Senior sack. He was picked by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, he had alcohol issues, but, he was driving too fast, wrapped his shit around a telephone pole, played 8 games in the NFL, never heard from again. The pick after that, Dan Marino. So, I mean, it's happened before. I mean, Derek Thomas has been out there. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You're not an idiot. You're not a dumb individual. And you're going to do whatever you're going to do. I get it. You're better than us. You make $40 million a year. Therefore, the rules don't apply to you. You can get 9 speeding tickets. Vince McMahon can T-bone a damn car on the Merritt Parkway in Connecticut, and nobody gets charged for anything. It's just no harm, no foul, move on. But sooner than later, it's going to catch up with you, man. I'm not going to feel bad. I'm just not.
No, it doesn't kill anybody. That's the only.
Yeah, that's what it is. I hope he doesn't hurt anybody else doing this shit because obviously he doesn't really seem to give a damn about his own existence. So, I mean, it is what it is. Speaking of is what it is, the show is now over. I think we can now put the show in the history books. I'd like to thank Eli Moon for wading through a bunch of angry pirates that he's all related to be able to do the show to start the day out here. I'd like to thank Anthony Alford for showing the group the chicken parmesan tacos he made before the show started, and good job keeping those down the entire time. Great work, everybody. And
good, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
For being able to do a podcast without getting anything thrown at me by my girlfriend, who is probably pretty irritated with me yelling like a banshee here at 12:30 at night. But for everybody here at the main event, does anybody have any parting words before we ride off into the sunset?
We'll see you guys all week. Make sure you stay tuned in Inside Edge Network. We are your source for everything you need. Source, sports, entertainment, mental health, everything. Come on, man.
All right, and yeah, you can catch me on WTAM. I'll be with Dennis Maniloff tomorrow and Tuesday. I will be on the air. And Double A, you'll like this one. I have an epically long scheduled show. I don't know if I'm going to be able to deal with this. 3 to 3:59. I have to drive a half an hour in from Menor and then a half an hour back for an hour-long show.
How about that? How about that?
Gotta love it. Hey, I get to talk sports, so we're cool.
There you go.
Other than that, I guess my final word would be goodbye and see you next week. For everybody here at the main event, Anthony Alford, Eli Moon, I am Rob Rozycki. It's a little after 12:30 here on the East Coast, and we'll see you next week.